in a minute. So we're live now. I'm with Campton Africa, and we'll talk about Euroskepticism on the left and the future of the Labour Party. So, so is anyone you want to start on this subject?
Abby, after you, my dear.
Oh, thank you. Well, I would have liked to have thought that Labour would have supported Euroscepticism wholeheartedly, knowing Corbyn's views in the past, and he hasn't, which to me was a real letdown. I was expecting to have a party that would back our exit from the EU wholeheartedly because of the membership, the views of their heartland, the views of the older Labour members, at least. And I felt very let down. I still feel very let down by them.
Yeah, I remember Corbyn's first election. Now, this was quite a burnt time, actually. I went to a rally in Sheffield in August 2015, and what he said there, he spent probably about 10 minutes attacking the EU on their renewable policies, and attacking the migration crisis, attacking them in Greece, attacking them on the anti-trade unionism in the EU, which is quite brilliant, actually, and interesting. And I think this came from Labour conference, where basically everyone there would say Labour, it is EU referendum, Labour will vote Remain. And Corbyn looked at that and said, right, I'm a bit of a Democrat in the Labour Party, and I'll back it. I think that's what Corbyn did. And also, he was under a lot of pressure from the Blairites, which were, in that period, very toxic, to say the least. I think might have done a legal deal with them, saying, right, I'll back Remain as long as you don't take me down. But even though this will come down after it, even though Corbyn was pretty much forced, it wasn't very passionate. If you compare Corbyn to the EU referendum and Corbyn to that election, very like a different person.
Yeah, well, I'd have to disagree with that. Sorry.
Oh, why disagree?
Well, because when it came to the Remain campaign, and I was a Remainer, Jeremy Corbyn did more rallies than anyone else, not only in the Labour Party, but also in the Tory Party. Anybody in the Remain camp, right? He did more rallies. He did 250 compared to the closest one was about 210 or 200. It was like really, really immense. The problem is that he had a complete media blackout as to what he was producing. And I will tell you another thing. It's because he refused to share a platform with David Cameron, which I think says a lot about his character, despite the fact that the two of them were riding on the same issue. He decided to actually go separately from David Cameron, and he refused to share that platform. Now, I understand why he did it. It's because in the meantime, if we do exit from the EU, as far as he was concerned, it was just going to be Tory rule, race to the bottom, a tax-free haven for the globalist corporatocracy, So
yeah.
I understand why he didn't do it. So this is why we didn't see a lot of him. It doesn't mean he didn't do it. Now, when he says that he did kind of say, I went out there for Remain, I do believe him. And he did kind of go out there for Remain. But when it comes to voting, I think he voted leave, and I think that's in hindsight. But 2020 hindsight and all that.
Yeah.
So.
Well, look, of course, the media ignored him. The referendum was a fight in the Conservative Party, and that's how it was. Corbyn, he did not. Right, he did lots of rallies. I think it was the most of them, but I just don't think it was passionate as it was in the last election. That's all.
Well, like I was saying to you, like when it came to the broadcasting or the airtime that Corbyn should have been given as much time as Cameron, for instance, but he wasn't. Right.
Well, look, it's media.
Nobody knew. Like everybody said, "Oh, Corbyn was missing during the campaign." Corbyn, like nobody saw Corbyn. Corbyn's always been a Eurosceptic. Blah 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 blah. But if you look at the figures, like when you look at someone like Chuka Umunna, who's blatantly Remain, right, centrist Remain, he did more rallies than him for Remain, and that's fucking weird. The only difference being is that he wasn't broadcast on mainstream media. That's the difference. This is where my argument is.
Yeah, why would you, if you are a skeptic, go on all those Remain campaigns unless it was a real way of trying to get either to bring down the government or to get the votes? It's wrong.
It was a calculated risk as far as I'm concerned, and the way I see it is like we either stay in with the EU, or because let us not forget that the workers' rights we got from the EU and the kind of holiday rights and the health and safety rights that we got from the EU. And I believe this is subjectively, I believe that he thought that if the Tories got in power without these rights, this is the thing that in the last manifesto, the Tory party wanted to abolish the Human Rights Act, right? So, he was like, fuck this shit off, let's just fucking sort this out, and before we go any further, let's agree with the rights that we've got so far, and let's talk about this like human beings rather than being dickheads, which is what the Tory party are doing. And let us again understand that the idea of Brexit that the Jeremy Corbyn and John McDonnell want is far away from what Jacob's Tree Frogs wants from a Brexit.
What Corbyn wants in our heart is it's a Benite Brexit. It's not really what but Mog wants. Right, you could say he looks at the situation, looks at the possibility of what the Tories would do, and say, no, wait. But let's say if Labour was in power and there was a referendum and Corbyn was Prime Minister, what do you think he would do?
Well, if he acts in the same way as he is now, I think it would just be completely cynical. I just can't understand it. I mean, he's always prided himself on being truthful, and he's not being truthful. And to say, well, yeah, but then he's trying to bring down the government, it's just a cynical exercise in using people. I think Brexit is too important to stuff around sort of saying something that you don't believe in just to get the vote to go your way. you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I think,
Abby, that's a very cynical way of looking at things. And I think I see. Now, bearing in mind, I am quite a big Corbyn fan, but I'm not a Corbynite, right? I'm more of the manifesto rather than the person, right?
Yeah.
I loved the last manifesto, and I'm with. I don't think it was radical enough, but I do think that he is now thrust in the position, just like Brian. You know, he has to do what's right, and he has pressures from both sides, and he's trying to be pragmatic. So I can allow him some leeway. You know,
well, I can't on this
Fair
one.
enough.
I think
Fair
it's too important.
fair enough. Fair enough.
Yeah,
Well,
I mean that's just my opinion.
It's a very difficult position. I think the conclusion is that no matter what happens, the same thing will happen with the Tories or Labour Brexit. That we have a bit of a weird deal. It's a bit what you couldn't call it soft or hard. It'd be like in between. If you don't understand what I'm saying, like in between like Norway and Canada, right?
Yeah.
If you understand what I'm saying, it'd be that well, we pick and choose basically, and that's what the deal's going to be about. Like Corbyn is basically stuck. He doesn't want the Tories to control Brexit. He wants to get in, and he sees the risks of that. This is why he's doing what he's doing. He wants to bring them down, and he wants to try to compromise with the remainers in the Conservative Party and his own party. Try to bring them down, and this is what I'm saying. What he's doing on Brexit. This is what's going to happen next week. Because I'd be surprised if it passes the vote on was it amendment?
Yeah.
On the EU withdrawal bill.
The 15, yeah.
Yeah, it won't pass.
But how can he stand there while his party are going on about staying in the leaving the single market, but being in the single market, getting all the benefits of the single market, but we're leaving.
Mate, they're doing the fucking okie cokey, aren't they?
It's confusing because
it's not sensible. It doesn't make one iota of sense.
It's confusing because they're all saying different things. MPs. If you look at Owen Smith, he said, "Oh, stop Brexit. We're going to stop Brexit." And then if you look at Keir Starmer saying, "Really, as close as possible, but close as possible relationship with the single market, with all possible tariffs." And then you get someone else saying that wasn't that by Garner saying, "Oh, we're going to leave the single market," and it's confusing. It's confusing because they have so they do have a position. I know what it is. Is that is to leave the single market, as close as possible relationship with the single market, stay out, leave the single customs union, but negotiate a new customs union, and that's Labour's position. But there's so many MPs, so many ideas, and most of them are just like common, not respected. They're not sticking to the position. They're all saying things. If you ask like Keir Starmer and ask Chris Williamson, you're gonna get two different things, and that's a big issue with Labour at the moment. And I think the party is a bit identity crisis as well as Conservatives, like what it is in the future outside the EU. I'm meant to predict in that Labour will convey Benite if Corbyn gets in. But the thing is, the MPs, the establishment in the party are not. They are still stuck in the Blair years, basically. Yeah. And when the membership is actually becoming more Eurosceptic, what I'm seeing.
Yeah.
Even though it might not seem like that, but I see it as a game more Eurosceptic.
I mean, I think there's so many of the MPs in the Labour Party that should just not be in the Labour Party.
Oh, fucking right. I know, right.
You know, they're not Labour MPs. Get rid of them. It's like, you know, if it means throwing in the towel and calling another, you know, another election or doing what, but get rid of her.
Yeah, I know. That's a whole nother can of worms, Abby. You know that,
I know.
don't you?
Yes, I know.
Yeah.
But it's true.
Yeah, I know.
They
I
are
know.
not.
I know.
They are not a Labour
Your vet,
Party.
yeah, you know, your vet Coopers, your Smiths, you know, these, yeah. Well, basically, Daryl Hannon, fucking, what's his name? Hillary Benn.
Hillary Benn. Oh,
Yeah,
God,
that's the one that really grates your bones, isn't it?
yeah, because you had
Hillary fucking Benn. Right?
If he was just his dad.
Yeah. Oh God, can you imagine the fucking power tool we'd have in Parliament now? But he's a centrist fucking wanker. Absolutely. Fuck's sake. Who the fuck, you know?
He probably is only in Parliament because it was expected of him.
Yeah.
You know, because he's not his dad's man, is he?
Yeah. He's not the son of his father. Definitely not.
No. Yeah, well, that's what I meant.
yeah, I know.
Yeah.
But I got the gift of the gab, so you know.
Well, true, yeah.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, it's
such a shame though, isn't it? When you think about it.
Because he's such a great. If you look at him, if you look at him in a vacuum, he's actually quite a good politician, which does my head in, you know.
Yeah.
And his speech that he did for bombing poor Syrians, and you're just like, that's a good speech, but I fucking hate you for doing it because you're a dirty bastard, you know. That's what pisses me off, you know.
Yeah, I just look at him and think, disappear and let your dad come back.
I know he would be turning in his grave if he saw fucking.
He would. I just wish, you imagine if we had Ben, Skinner, possibly Galloway, all that sort of type of MP, and it would be absolutely fantastic.
Oh, of course. Well, that's the dream team, isn't it?
Well, yeah, I know.
Yeah. Would you? I think we're gonna get another generation of those style of MPs actually growing up. Yeah, we've got people like him, like Pigcock. There's a lot of potential in her.
Yeah, totally. Oh, mate, like the future of the Labour Party is female, mate, and it blows my mind, and it's fucking brilliant, absolutely brilliant. Like the time of the patriarchy is over. It's now. Long live the matriarchy, definitely.
I'll tell you what, you won't have seen backstabbing before until you see that lot of Labour women in power, because
this is a new fucking lot, right?
Yeah, but they will backstab each other as much as look. I mean, when I saw how they acted against, I mean, he was a very bad maiden speech, or it mightn't have been his maiden speech, but he'd only just come into Parliament, and they were just like a load of hyenas. Instead of sort of supporting a new MP, it was just like, and I thought, I can see how they got to be MPs, because I know women have got to be stronger, but they don't have to be nasty. And unfortunately, some of them are.
Example, please. I think you need some evidence. Exactly what?
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying. There was, the young black MP on the Tories. Is it Ben?
Oh yeah, the one that was on Question Time the other week. Was it him?
I don't know. I don't know. No, this is going back a while. It was when Rayner blocked me for it. But
Angela Rayner.
Yeah, everyone else had been
fucking dick anyway.
Yeah, well, everyone else on the Tory party had basically disappeared, and there was a finance question, and he'd obviously been detailed, unprepared, knew absolutely nothing about what, and you could tell he was just so nervous, standing up there. Well, instead of cutting him a little bit of slack or even laughing nicely at him, they gave him absolute hell.
Ah, right. Are you talking about when? Are you talking about when Angela Rayner laughed at the guy the Tory guy that stood up and said?
No, it was the young black guy on finance, and they were asking questions and that of him, which he obviously was unprepared. I can't remember what was on that day, but there was something that every Tory MP with any sort of know-how, had disappeared.
Now,
and in the end, someone on the back, I can't remember who it was, but sort of leant over and was trying to help him. But he I think it's the first time I'd ever seen him have to do anything sort of reasonably major. And they were just really, really nasty. And they were just like a load of hyenas sighting a wounded animal, and they went in for the kill. And they sat there and they were turning around and talking to each other.
Well, I would like to say that the new generation of Labour candidates such as Laura Pidcock and who's the blonde girl,
Rebecca Long Bailey.
Yeah, Rebecca Long Bailey, head of business, shadow of business. I really think that they're really good, and they're especially Pidcock. She's a true old school socialist, man.
Yeah, well, Pidcock came in confident, didn't she? She was. I mean, there was no first time nerves standing up there giving a speech. She was obviously full of confidence. The way she tore into the House of Commons for a start.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, you know what? If you look at the grassroots Labour Party, you get these old socialists are pitting back. You get more of them. You get more people like Corbyn. People talk about Tony Benn a lot more now. You still get these people back, and look, it's not necessarily to do with momentum. Momentum is bits, and look,
I don't want momentum. Yeah.
I just see. Like, sorry, I don't understand what your problem is with momentum. It's a focus group. That's all it is. It's a focus group.
Not in our area. No.
So you have personal.
Yeah, well, on the Facebook page and that for our area here, and it's basically their momentum. It's quietened down from that, but when momentum was at its height, when they first sort of worked to get Jeremy in, really, didn't they?
Mm.
And they were so full of themselves that nobody else was allowed to say anything.
Yeah. There was kind of you had the left-wing litmus test that you had to pass before you could even comment on a post.
Yeah, well, if you said anything, you were wrong because it didn't agree with momentum. That was the attitude there. But they were talking on our page yesterday about this MP who is a great MP in his district, absolutely fantastic, always there. They don't know when he sleeps because he works such long hours, blah, blah, blah. But he's not good for Corbyn. So we might have to work to get rid of him. Says it all, doesn't it? So it doesn't matter that you're good at your job and great for your constituents. As far as these momentum.
It depends on your politics, really, doesn't it?
Well,
Like,
yeah.
Like,
it's
whether
the,
you
it's
like
the politics, isn't it?
Abby, whether you like momentum or not, right? They are here to stay right now. This is the thing. They have got what 60,000 members, I think, right now. And the where they're going, within 6 months, they will have a bigger influence than Activate or even more members than the Tory party, full stop.
Then it's sad.
So
I think it's sad.
Really?
Yeah.
Really? I think it's fucking great. I think it's brilliant.
I think it's sad.
Of course. Because they, you know, these are the people that go out there and actually talk about shit online. These are the people that knock on doors. These are the people that go out there and actually demonstrate. These are the people that actually understand. I know it's like not quite old school socialism, but it's new school socialism, and they're talking about technologies and stuff that that you and I might not understand, because to be honest, I'm getting old now and I don't understand like some of the technologies that they're talking about.
No, I don't think it's that at all with the technology or anything. I think it's that momentum have got what they want to happen, and it's what momentum wants, this big group of people, not what is good for the general public and for the rest of the UK.
So the fact that they're actually creating new unions within places that haven't had unions before, such as the McDonald's union, and having the McStrike, such as
but that isn't just momentum, is it? That stems
but they
from
helped. But they helped.
They may have helped, but if they weren't there, the unions would have done it.
Okay, but would they have had as much coverage though?
Possibly, because they would have gone to, well, not using the momentum email system and communication system
and the videos that they produced, you know, could you really say that they would have the most coverage? So I mean, you know, it's
but they were after too much. I think they've been, I don't know if somebody has sort of squashed them gently from the top, but they were getting too full of their
John Landsman.
Well, Landsman, apparently that was something else that was on the CLP site yesterday, was that they were saying that they're sort of worried, well, not worried, but they don't know what he's up to, because what he's saying and what he's doing politically are two different things.
We'll see. We will see.
I don't know. Anyway, we will.
Yeah, it's all a bit messy.
Yeah, they're not my favourite people, but anyway.
I think honestly that these are the people that need to get messy, because at the end of the day, somebody needs to get their shit in the dirt. Yeah, and they need to fight, and sometimes you need to fight dirty, right? And at the end of the day, let's face it, the Tories aren't fighting. They aren't fighting head to head, toe to toe, right? They do fight dirty, right? So we need someone to do that, right? And sometimes momentum can go low when Jeremy Corbyn needs to stay high, right? whether you like it or not, whether you like Jeremy Corbyn or not, right?
I've always liked Jeremy Corbyn in the past. It's just that now I feel let down by him. But
yeah, whether you let's put that Brexit thing aside. Whether you like him or not, or whatever.
Yeah,
it's what we need to do, right? I feel for a lefty, you know, it's a step in the right direction. I really don't give a fuck what the mainstream media thinks about Momentum. I really don't give a fuck about what they think about Jeremy Corbyn or John McDonnell or the left side of the Labour Party. Yeah.
So what
I care about is the direction of the Labour Party.
Yeah.
Yes, this Brexit thing is a bit worrying, but you know, as far as I'm concerned, is a separate issue. The fact that you're worried, or the fact that you don't trust Momentum, really worries me, because you know this is an activist arm, right? If you want to take it to extremes, this could be the IRA to the Sinn Féin party of Northern Ireland, right?
Then I don't want that. I want the rise of
of course we don't want that. We don't want that. But this is the equivalency, right? And the problem is the way things are going right now is that do you blame them? To be honest, like, things are ripe for a revolution. I don't want a revolution. Cameron doesn't want a revolution. You don't want a revolution. Nobody wants a revolution, apart from maybe
John McDonnell.
no, apart from John McDonnell, maybe old school anarchist, and maybe G. Right? Nobody wants a revolution right now. Okay.
Yeah.
But things are ripe for a revolution. Okay. And
sometimes I think a revolution wouldn't be bad. It might actually, you know, if it was a people's revolution, is it a bad thing?
Tell me what revolution wasn't a people's revolution. The last revolution, let's say the Russian Revolution, the Irish Revolution, the French Revolution.
I say revolution, I'm not quite fighting on the street type revolution.
Maybe in Poland, actually, post the Solidarity movement in Poland was a bit of a,
that was very much a union revolution, wasn't it?
Perhaps that. Even though that could be arrests in that one, but that was less violent than others.
Yeah. Yeah. I think what we need is like the step below a revolution, you know, not a full-blown revolution, but we need a complete change of politics, complete change of the political system, because this one is stuffed and it's not working.
Well, yeah, this is the entire question, isn't it? You've read Animal Farm, haven't you? Of course you have. Everybody's read Animal Farm.
Yeah, but it's horrible. I don't like it.
What? It's one of the most brilliant books that's ever written. I teach it to my kids. I teach it to my kids.
I cried at Bambi, let alone Animal Farm.
Was it Boxer, I will work harder?
I just don't like it. I mean, I think it's an absolutely brilliant book, but
okay. Well, when the animals took over the farm, it was, you know, they didn't know that it was going to happen until it happened. You know, it just happened like that. It just happened out of nowhere. They were planning it, and they could feel it, but it just happened out of thin air. You know, and it was kind of equivalent to the Russian Revolution in the fact that essentially, like, what was it? Like 1 or 2 people died during that entire to take over the entire country. Like 1 or 2 people died. Cameron, can you confirm me on that? Because you're the history buff.
Sorry, I was talking about. I was looking at something. Sorry.
All right. Okay. I was just comparing Animal Farm to the Russian Revolution.
Yeah.
And when the animals took over the farm, they were kind of unaware of when it actually happened, and it just happened, which is kind of similar to the Russian Revolution. And it was written as a parallel, I think.
Which Russian Revolution?
The first okay, so what was it? 1917,
February,
1916. Yeah, exactly right.
So you talk about the February Revolution, it's happened spontaneously. October was like a coup by the Bolsheviks.
Yes, yeah. It was a spontaneous coup, I suppose.
Well, October wasn't. It was quite planned for a couple of weeks before it. But the February was spontaneous one. Literally colluded with the sellers at St. Petersburg for months actually, and the Soviet was like a council made by all the workers, which shared power with the provisional government. So it was October Revolution was a coup basically, and the February one was.
Well, I thought it was in November, so like you know, I think it depends what books you read, but
well, it was late October it started.
That's what I thought. That's why I thought it was in November. But anyway, hey who. The idea being, or the point being, is that it happened and it was spontaneous.
Yeah, but in a way,
Animal Farm was written in the 30s, right? So it was written in reflection, of that event. I think
in the light of that event.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Thank you, Ali.
That's all right.
Right. What do you think about the Deutsche Bank? We'll listen in the side chat. I say some links about Saeed Javid denying tax avoidance in Deutsche Bank.
I haven't even looked at this side chat. I didn't realise anyone. Hello, side chat.
There's actually a side chat. Hey, Bubble Vis.
Last time I looked, there wasn't.
Sorry, we've just been hey, Bubble Vis. We've just been bullshitting like
hi, Bubble Vis.
Any other. Yeah.
I thought we were in a vacuum.
Yeah, I know. Damn those Hoovers.
Yeah.
Oh dear.
There wasn't this sort of vacuum I actually meant, but
yeah, I know. Well, you know,
yeah.
Fuck it, I'm just gonna drink.
I actually upset an Italian cleaner when I first went to Australia because I left a note saying could he vacuum the library, and apparently he had no idea what vacuum was.
You had a library. What the fuck, man?
Yeah, not my library. Not my library.
You had a library.
Yeah.
Fuck. Jesus Christ, man.
Why not? I mean, not in a house. At work.
Oh, right. Okay. Now you tell us. Fucking hell. Here's us thinking you had a library in your house.
Of course, I am really from the upper class. And one does have a library.
Really?
Oh, yes, of course.
My library was in the loo, don't you know?
Oh, well. Never mind.
Because the only time I read was when I was taking a shit.
Well,
you know what?
It sounds a bit like
my
the paper bag in the middle of the road.
Oh,
you see, my lab is in the shed. In the garden.
In the shed?
Yeah. There's also a toilet in the shed.
Right.
Your library? I'm taking the piss.
Is it a man? What is it, man?
Yeah, you can call it a man cave. What to me, every cave is a man cave. Yeah. Every room in the house.
Actually, I would like a potting shed because I think it would be a nice place on a cold day. You could go down there and you could potter around. You could probably have a chair and a magazine. They're probably quite warm and cosy in there. Well, that shut everyone up, didn't it?
I suppose so.
I know. I was listening. I was kind of imagining the thing that you were put across, and I was just like, "Oh yeah, that'd be nice. Just need a joint and a beer, or just a nice cold glass of Chardonnay. That'd be fine."
Yeah, that would be quite nice, and you could sort of fiddle a pot plants. That'd be quite good.
Have you ever thought of doing sex lines for the over 60s? You know, because that sounds quite good to me.
No, I can't say it's actually occurred to me, but I'll keep it in mind.
Well, that's an odd turn. Right, but what I want to do is actually share an article about some David Davis. It's quite interesting. Just a second.
Yeah. I'm just trying to.
As you prepare for the what's it called? The tunnel of death or something like that. Right. There we go. You can see it. The customs backdrop. PM versus Vaults from David Davis over End-Date.
Yeah.
Cabinet sources draft say draft plan. As promised to the fresh row, it doesn't end it. So there's more Tory infighting on Brexit.
Yeah, somebody else posted and said that it was on the tweets that I saw before how David Davis is really fed up and that, his own party, they keep trying to stymie the negotiations and that he's fed up and not having it anymore. So I'm not quite sure what he's planning on doing.
To be honest, can you put that article up again one more time, please? I was distracted.
All right, just a minute then. Let's move stuff because I'm talking to someone in the background. So this is it. The customs backdrop PM versus Revolt on David Davis over End-Date. This is about the draft plan of the white paper we're talking about at PNQs.
Well, yeah. Well, like any white paper that the Tories fucking publish is obviously printed on shit roll, isn't it? Because then the European Union can wipe their ass on it. That's the entire point of any white paper that they publish. It makes no difference. They can say whatever they fucking want. And again, this goes back to the fucking Labour Party that we're talking about today. It makes no fucking difference what they want, right? No deal is made until the deal is made. And the other thing is that they will not allow anything that has been proposed today. I'm guaranteeing you it now, right?
When you say that, yeah, do you mean the EU?
Yeah, it's not going to happen, mate. Not going to happen. Like, why would they? Like, the power is in their hands. Like, we are begging for fucking crumbs right now. It makes no fucking difference. Whereas
it's ridiculous. We shouldn't be.
Yeah, we shouldn't be. Exactly right. We shouldn't be. Why don't we change the argument, right?
That's exactly where we've gone wrong.
Yeah, change the okay, right. I was watching this series on Netflix. It's called Billions, and this is quite interesting, an interesting situation. And the guy was talking to another guy, and he says, "This is a stick, right? And now this is a Japanese trick that they teach all over Japan." And he says, "This is a stick. If you tell me I have a stick, I'll hit you with it. If you tell me I don't have a stick, I'll hit you with it. If you tell me whatever, I'll hit you with it." So the kid looks at him straight in the eyes, takes the stick and breaks the stick, right? So we need a third option. This is the thing. So we need to take that shit, break it off, and just broadcast the domestic plans and highlight the domestic issues that we're going through at the moment, because we're being distracted by Brexit when we should be talking about the NHS or housing. Let's talk about what's going to happen post Brexit. Say, fuck Brexit. Look, it doesn't matter. Brexit doesn't really matter to you. Like when you knock on the door, right? Hi, what do you think of Brexit? I don't give a fuck. What I give a fuck is, why can't my kid get a decent lunch at school? That's what people give a fuck about. When you knock at the door, hi, what do you think about Brexit? No, I don't give a fuck. Why can't my grandma get decent care, right, at her NHS home? That's what people give a fuck about. Bring it back to domestic issues, man. This is what people care about. This is what I care about.
And that's what Labour did in the last election. What's important to their success, not to focus on that. Because trying to take the Brexit election, and that failed. And it came to domestic issues. Now it's their success, and this is what's going to happen. He's going to come to domestic agenda again, and he's going to win the election.
Exactly right, and this is why it pisses me off. Right, is that why get your agenda out there without a general election? I mean, like, fuck's sake, the opposition has the beauty of just being whatever they want to be. Surely, right? Tell me if you think I'm wrong. Tell me I'm wrong. Right? Surely they can be whatever they want to be, right? Okay.
Yeah, I'm not saying you're wrong on this at all.
So why don't they? Why did they feel they had to literally lay a line in the sands today? I don't understand that.
Because they see it as the best way to take Tories down. Right. So if we can get convinced the Tory Remainers and Stupid to vote against the amendment, and then at the other side we get all their party and all the opposition. Right? So at the end we'll end up with government humanities. There's also
Oh, your pizza's ready, mate.
Right, is everyone gone?
No, I'm still here, man.
I'm here.
Right. I want about So basically, all thing about Brexit recently, it's a ploy to bring down the government. That's all it is. It's playing politics, and they're doing good job of it.
Yeah. But the problem is that we're pissed off. Like the populace is pissed off with politics, aren't they? They're pissed off with everyday, normal kind of fucking politics. You know, if you vote for politics right now, you get fucking Hillary Clinton. If you vote for politics, what you get is Macron. You know, if you vote for politics, you get fucking bullshit. And to be honest, I do understand it. Is that, you know, the Labour Party is going this way, right? So we need to look at why and why is it going this way?
Yeah, but I don't think it's even that people aren't interested in Brexit. They're only interested in the NHS or whatever. I don't think they're interested in anything at all as far as, you know, to do with politics. They're actually just all walking around living. You know, it's us that are interested in politics, and it's us that think about politics in.
But to be fair, we are a bit geeky.
Well, yeah, we're weird, but we like politics. Otherwise, we wouldn't spend so much time talking about it, would we?
Yeah, it's true. Granted.
You know, whereas your average person, you walk out and they say, "Oh, I'm not interested in politics."
Right. Yeah. There's a study that was done between again, it's in the book, The Spirit Level, and it talks about if you starve someone, or if you starve them of resources, then they generally become less politically involved, and the more they are enriched, the more politically involved they become, right? So the suffocation of the middle class, which could vote could vote either way, and the incrimination of the lower class, basically means the. And I tried to address this. Are you working your microwave, by the way?
Yes, sorry. Cameron?
Oh, is it you?
No, it's me.
Oh my god! Fucking hell.
I was going to put the potatoes.
Well, what has happened? That's what the toilet. Something happened.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't matter. My point's been killed. So
sorry.
The point's been killed.
It's my secret weapon.
What, the microwave?
Yeah, so it kills your thought wave.
Oh yeah, nice one. Thank you.
Sorry. Anyway, I'll mute myself.
No. But I've lost my thread now.
I'm going to put the microwave on for 4 minutes so it make a noise. So I'll be back in 4 minutes.
Right.
Did anybody out there like bubble this? Did you understand where I was going? Like, do you want me to carry on? Otherwise, I'll just shut up.
You can if you want.
Do you understand where I was going?
Yeah.
Okay. Where was I going? It was about no, see, yeah, I've lost it, mate. Definitely lost it.
All right. All right. There's another issue that I wanted to discuss. Is that in terms of the future of the Labour Party, where do you think that the future is in terms of left versus right, Remain versus Leave? How do you see the future of the Labour Party? Because I'm looking in the future, and it's very hard to see what's going to happen.
Yeah,
I can see the blowouts taking it back slowly. But on the other side, I can see
I tell you one thing. Yeah, I think you're right. Yeah, Cameron, fair play, mate. When you explain it like that, it makes me realize that I think you're right. The longer this Brexit shit goes on, it makes me think the more the centrists will take over. Which means bullshit for everybody. And that means we're all fucked.
This is what I fear. That's why carbon has to basically take them. Is that they're using this to bring moderate politics back into Labour. That's what they want to do. Basically, it's the same people, Coopers, basically, who basically did a coup in 2016. Same people make Commons Life Hell, which are badgering on about the Brexit issue, which is actually it's not a biggest issue in Labour Party as a thing. In local Labour Party meetings, actually, people are more open to honouring it. Remember, this might look rare, which is voted 72% leave. Remember, it's not like most Labour areas. It's more just socialist in South Yorkshire, but the members are not the people who control local Labour parties. They're definitely Blairites, but it's interesting anyway, because when we talk to it, let's say Labour members, they're very reluctant about it. They're not so very passionate, to be honest. There's already that the chuckling numbers are people in his lot. People who battle will say because if you what the Tories did. Oh, it's about minor things like Roman tortures or child noon. So it's the EU's not that loved in this country, as people say it. This is why, especially on the left, this is why I keep saying there's going to be in a second referendum. It's going to be a bit of fight on the left because I've seen people move, like warm up to the idea of Brexit. People who never thought about it before. You see this on social media. I think people who repelled by the people hammering reversing Brexit. It's mainly, I have to say, the FPVs. It's mainly them. And actually, what these people do is make stop Brexit synonymous to stop carbon, which is going to harm them. That's what I'm sort of thinking.
To be fair, I think you touched on something that's quite interesting. The FBP crew don't necessarily want to stop Corbyn, and a lot of them I think are Corbynites. It's difficult. I mean, Brexit is a difficult situation, and again, it takes me back to my original point: is why did the Labour Party feel it was necessary to put their line in the sand now? They don't have to. They don't have to do anything. They're in opposition. They can be whatever the fuck they want to be. Why commit to anything?
Just one of the FBPE things that I disagree with what you said on is that before the local government elections, they were really pushing sort of, don't vote for Labour because unless they say they'll be anti-Brexit. And they were very much pushing against Corbyn.
I think so. Yeah, granted.
Yeah.
Granted. But before that, I would say in the join clause, it was so FBPE is generally a left-wing kind of ideal, right? It's a left-wing tag, but it's a new left-wing tag.
Shaw's left-wing. I've spoken to these people, and not very left wing, they're more centrists. That's what I would say.
Well, again, if you've got more information than I do, then fair enough. If you think they're centrist, then I'm happy to agree to that. It's just my opinion, and opinion can be overlaid. Like,
sorry, were you saying the FBPE mob are centrists?
Yeah, that's what I was saying.
Yeah, well, I'd agree, and I think they're also what we'd call in
Blairites.
Australia, yuppie, no, in Australia, but yuppies, because they're very much sort of, well, they are. They're middle class. I'm all right, Jack. We want everything left exactly as it is. We want to go
it's
over to Europe,
working for us, so fuck everybody else. You know?
Yeah. Well, I think that it's typical FBPA.
Right. So, 22 disabled people died last week due to PIP cuts. I don't give a fuck. I'm doing well. That kind of person.
Yeah, I think, well, if that wasn't how they thought about it, wouldn't May be doing a lot worse in the polls than she is? And wouldn't they have done a lot worse at the local government elections than they did? I think people just aren't. It's I'm all right, Jack, and I don't want to lose out on my holiday home in Spain.
You have no idea how much I understand. You have no idea.
Well, that's how it seems to me. It just seems.
Oh yeah, of course. I mean,
they're this group of people that really aren't interested in what people want.
Hey, Abby, I did this like fucking spill, and I'll tell you what, I'll do it for you now, right?
Yeah.
And I did this with JJ in A Up Let's Talk, right? One of the biggest lies that was ever taught to the society today is that there is no such thing as society. There's no such thing as community. That is a lie. If anybody has actually learned anything through evolution or however much you've learned today, then you would know that people actually rely on each other. Altruism is actually a gene within each other. That's the only reason we've actually lasted this long. So this entire idea is I'm all right, Jack, or what Thatcher said, there is no such thing as society. Of course, it's fucking bollocks. Of course there's such thing as society. Of course there's such thing as, family. Everybody depends on each other. So that's bullshit. And
there's a difference in being not part of a society or being part of a society, but not caring about the other levels of society.
Well, this is the point. This is the point, isn't it? It's caring about the other people within society. This is the altruism gene or the selfish gene that we were talking about.
Everybody in society, or do you only care about your little group?
You care about what's relevant to you.
Yeah.
This is the point, right? But you the point that Thatcher was talking about. I hate saying that. Fucking hell. That just shows lack of vocabulary. Yeah, I know. It's really, really bad. I'm really, really sorry about that. So when you look at what Thatcher was talking about, she was talking about destroying societies. When you talk about societies, you talk about neighborhoods. You talk about what is your neighbors. So what took place in the years after is she was looking at alienating between you and your neighbor, right? This is the difference. I know I nailed it down to, a certain time period, but to be fair, there's nothing else I can do. So And it was true. Like, if you look at 1979, before that, everybody was, still in pretty much the post-war kind of ideals, and that, everybody was clinging together. And it was like the reign of the yuppie from 1982 onwards, post Falklands War onwards. So sorry about that. I did go into one then. I do apologize.
We'll forgive you.
Thank you, Abby.
That's all right. I'm generous like that.
Yeah, did you enjoy it though?
Yeah.
Was that? Yeah.
Yeah, and I'd agree to a certain extent.
Yeah.
I just think that society is very limited by you only want to keep your society in the style to which you're accustomed. And if that means that other people go down the hill, who cares?
Yeah, granted. I would agree to that to a certain extent. But this, if you look at the 80s, which was my point, and I was looking at, Thatcherite times. If you look at Thatcherite times, this was before globalism, right?
Yeah.
But now we're forced the idea of globalism, but right, we still have the ideals of Thatcherism. So do you understand the conflict of ideas? This is where the contradictions, and even Marx fucking understood this back in 200 years ago. He understood the conflicts between globalism and localism. So it is a mess, and of course it's fucking erupting right now. And right now I've forgotten the original point because I've just gone way off subject. But yes, you can understand. Like I brought you to Thatcherism. Like, if you understand Thatcherism,
you want to discuss that?
Hey, mate. Like, I was born in 1980, so my younger terms were defined by Thatcher.
Right. So. Well, I was brought up with not brought up with a brother because he's a lot older than me, but Thatcher is literally the devil.
Yeah. That's what I brought up, actually.
And it's only been superseded by Blair.
Yeah, because I was born in 1996. But my dad, right, he always told me stories about Thatcher. You might not know this, but he was at the Battle of Orkney. Actually got arrested by the police there.
I think because a lot of people, older people, at the time when Thatcher came, they've seen the degeneration since she became Prime Minister. It was the start of their, things like the miners' strikes and that. It was a real change after the.
Hey, Abby, I've got a question. You say that Thatcher was the devil, right? I grew up in a family where my stepfather thought that Thatcher was the godmother of capitalism. Can you imagine? Okay. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I know. And can you imagine? Right. I kind of danced around the subject with JJ on his channel on how politics influences your ethics and your morals, and how your ethics and your morals influences your ideologies, right?
Yeah.
Could you imagine being a worker, right? Just a worker, Doesn't matter what trade you have, right? In the 80s, and supporting Thatcher. No, you couldn't. You couldn't, could you? Right?
No.
This is how morals influence your how morals influence your ideology, and how your ideology influence your morals. It's an interesting subject, isn't it?
Like, it is, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
I mean, all my brother wanted was to bring Thatcher down.
Yeah.
You know, she was this horrible, horrible person that even to this day is responsible for the woes of England.
Oh, mate. Yeah. If you look at she, like, on a long stool, if you look at on a long, like, thread, she's probably guilty for the heroin epidemic in Swansea. She's probably guilty for the knife crime in Liverpool. She's probably guilty for the shooting and gang violence in Manchester. There is so much shit that she couldn't have possibly known, but just through earning a few quid and selling off a few of our services, you know, she wouldn't have known. But there's a little bit inside of there's a little thing inside of me said, yeah, she'd known that. She would have known that these societies that she essentially destroyed, and it's generations later, and they still haven't recovered.
Yeah,
still haven't recovered,
and they still hate her as much.
Yeah, fucking right. So they should. So they should.
You know, I always got taught about the fact she. Well, my dad used to say, in fact, she used our snakes in her hair to refer to it. Anyway, Captain Swiss is actually just joined, so I said hello.
Hello, how's it going?
Right.
Yeah, it's going well.
I thought I'd sort of sit back and let you guys chat about Thatcher rather than interrupt when I think like Champshu was in the middle of a sort of you were doing like a charge sheet, and I didn't want to cut anything off. How are you doing?
Okay. What do you think of what I said about Thatcher? I would be interesting on your critique of what I just said.
Well, as far as what you say, the consequences of her policies, destroying communities and the rest of it, obviously we can see around us as that's the case. I suppose the tricky question is what you'd said about, you reckon that deep down inside she knew that was exactly what was going to happen.
Yeah, that's just me being a cunt, I suppose.
that's probably the one that I'm like, I really don't know one way or the other. Yeah. But the consequences, I don't think we can argue with.
Yeah, fair enough. All right, mate.
There was an interesting bit you guys were talking about a second ago, about politics influencing your ethics and your morals.
Yeah.
And it is an interesting question for you, because I think about this sometimes. Like, say if you weren't born in the time that you were born, but say you were born 100 years ago or 400 years ago, how likely is it that, you know, obviously the societal values of the time that you would have grown up in, how much that would influence how you feel about things like slavery or something. You know, the idea of slavery is absolutely abhorrent to me, and when I look at it historically, I find it absolutely abhorrent. But many people alive at the time were in favor of it. So if you'd been alive back then, would you have fallen in line with what they thought, or would you have thought something different? That's the sort of question I find very interesting.
Yeah. Can I just clarify that question? So essentially what you're asking is, if you were born in a century, let's say, that was socially acceptable to have a slave, would you say that was acceptable? Is that what you're saying?
I think so. Yeah, it's trying to get to the heart of how many of your views are your own, and how many of your views are the ones that society around you has given you.
Yeah. That's an interesting question.
Yeah, I don't necessarily have an answer for that, but I just thought it was an interesting thing to add on.
Well, this is something that everybody muddles over. Then, you know, is it nature or nurture? Isn't it? That's what you're getting to.
It would probably also depend on what level of society you're in.
Oh,
certainly.
Get down with your bad self.
Well, if you were the skivvy in a big house, feeling downtrodden, you'd probably feel sorry for the slaves.
So surely for that question to actually go down well, you'd have to remove the class factor, wouldn't you?
I can't, can you?
I can't. No, exactly.
I mean, the thing is, you're absolutely right that, like, if you were a slave back in those times, I'm pretty damn sure you'd be against slavery. But if you're like one of the slave owners, I don't know, like, even back then, obviously, in order to move to the position where there was no slavery anymore, you had to have people in positions of power to be pushing for it to be abolished. So there were some people around back then who knew it was wrong, but just not a majority for a long old time.
With the greatest respect, Swiss, I think the question is clumsy. Could you clarify the question and rephrase it one more time?
It wasn't even. It's not even a question. I'm just kind of talking my ideas out loud. Really, I'm not posing a specific question to you.
Oh, fair enough. Fair enough. No, that's cool then. No, that's all good.
But I realise I've dropped in and gone on a complete tangent from whatever you guys were talking about.
No, it's fine. It's fine. It's fine. We weren't really talking about anything.
We're just gibbering.
Yeah. We'll just. Okay. Can you ask the question one more time?
Okay. Sure. If you were born in like 18th century America, and you were just like a standard, I don't know, lower middle class white person, do you think you'd like still be against slavery, or do you think that because of having grown up in those times, you'd have a different point of view?
No, of course not, because I'd be white and I'd be privileged. So, you know, we're a product of our surroundings, right? So I would be used to having slaves, right? So that would be the normality to me. Like it would be like having Netflix or internet, you know? It would just be normality to me, right? Does that mean it's bad for me to use it because I'm using slaves, bearing in mind that I'm a product of this system? You know, this is another question. So you know, this I don't know. What do you think? I'm posing more questions than I'm answering, I suppose.
Well, I don't even have a good answer for that in myself. It's something not specifically on slavery, but just on all sorts of things. It's a thing that I think about sometimes. I wonder if I'd been alive in Victorian times, would I have been all uptight and religious? If I'd been alive 1,000 years ago, would I have thought the world was flat? You know.
Well, this is the thing. I mean, like I say, I mean, we are the product of our surroundings. So generally, if you look at 500 years ago and you are white, then generally you're going to be privileged. Essentially, the odds are you're going to be privileged.
Can I disagree with that quickly? I'd say that I think obviously relative to like if someone was keeping slaves, yes, of course you're more privileged than them. But back a few hundred years ago, the vast majority of white people were basically just serfs who worked on the land anyway. So they themselves weren't that privileged.
Of course. I mean, if we're looking at Anglican, i.e., what's within our country, definitely we were going to be serfs. So most of our slavery went overseas. So you're looking at.
Can I say something about that? We did have serfs and ended after the Black Death in this country. You're one of the first European countries to get rid of serfdom. So I'm not too sure about that one, but.
Oh, by all means, like I could have been incorrect on that, or at least I might have used the wrong phrasing. If I can re-clarify, then probably what I would have been better to say is that if I'd been alive maybe 300 years ago in this country, I wouldn't have necessarily been a serf, but I would have still lived on the poverty line. It would have been unlikely that I would have been,
right.
you know, the average person.
Yeah, the average person was in the country was an ag labourer.
Yeah, definitely. We'll probably be.
Most of the villages were made up by ag labourers with the one or two hierarchy that lived in big house, and they employed the ag labourers to do their work for a pittance.
Yeah, it was either that or you're either a poor peasant struggling to pay rent on your on the landlord's land by farming something like let's say wheat.
Yeah. However, sort of just on the thing about nurture, that if you think about it, if we were all just products of nurture, nothing would ever change. You know, if we were all born into a time where there was slavery, it needed people who thought outside the box and that slavery was wrong to ever bring about change.
That's a good point. There needs to be variation in order for anything to change. Otherwise, it'll all likely remain
the status quo, wouldn't it? Nothing would change because nobody would think they were born to be, no one would aspire. And nobody would think, oh, look at those poor slaves. They shouldn't be kept like that. It's not right.
Hence the French Revolution and the American Revolution. But, you know.
Revolutions everywhere.
Yeah.
I guess that's kind of the heart of the question I was asking, really. If you want me to summarize it in a clear, precise way, Champchi, I'll put it this way. If I were born in a different era, how many of my modern day values would I likely still hold? That's probably a good way to put it.
Probably none. It would be, I think your class would define your values more than your ethics. Your ethics have been learnt through society that you've learnt today, and these are the ethics that you live by right now. So
would you say that I'd probably argue that even the analysis of things through the lens of class is in itself something, well, obviously you talk about Marx a fair bit, and obviously, he did a fair bit of analysis on the difference between class and like the class struggle. Yeah. So even if there had been an era before Marx had came along, then people may not have even looked at things through the class lens in the same way that people would have done since.
Sure. Yeah, I understand that. Definitely. And you're exactly right to bring that to the fore. But the capitalist system was in its infant stage. Marx made his critique of capitalism when the Industrial Revolution was kicking off, right? And we're in the death throes of that system right now. So you can't really. The society is dictated throughout the industrial society that you're brought up in, right? So you can't be judged outside of that. Like, you can't be judged within a vacuum or within any other time within that. This is your time, right? So we're judging you within that time, right? So do you understand that? It's like it's kind of difficult to make it.
I think what you're saying, if I'm right in this, is basically that level of analysis is relevant for this day and age because that sort of analysis came along in response to the changes in society that have led to where we are now. Is that Yeah.
That's essentially right. Marx's response was to the capitalist society that he saw rising up. Okay, he was a critic to capitalism. Okay, and you're a product of capitalism. But to judge you outside of capitalism, or before capitalism, is something that is beyond our understanding, I suppose.
That's the difficulty, to try and take things, because you can't judge it in a vacuum, because we're kind of we've got so many different different sort of ideologies that we've grown up within. Like just to name a few, you could say capitalism, neoliberalism, liberalism, democracy, you know, just a few off the top of my head there. And kind of all of those are things, for me at least, that I've kind of grown up inside of. And
yes, exactly. To
so
take you outside of that and to put you in a vacuum becomes kind of an exercise of well, you just can't do it. You can't think outside of the box because you've always been inside the box. You know, it's you can't do it, really. You just can't do it.
Yeah. So therefore, isn't it silly expecting people to apologise for the faults of their ancestors?
Oh, of course, of course.
It is.
It's this big thing now, isn't it? Right, you apologise to the Aborigines for taking their land. You apologise to the slaves for making them slaves. Or the ancestors of the slaves. And should we really be responsible for that?
Not really. Right, I'll tell you one example. Right, at university, we're talking about the slave trade. Someone looked to me and said that.
Yeah.
I'm sorry that what my ancestors did to you. Now, I replied, what you said doesn't matter because you had no responsibility for it. And this is why I don't really like the idea of white guilt when people talk about it, because nobody should be guilty of something they never did or never had nothing to do with.
No, I agree with that. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I agree with that as well. I think that certainly there's a responsibility for an acknowledgement of what's happened in the past, to be able to look at something that's happened and said that was wrong. We should make sure that never happens again. But certainly on an individual basis, one of the basic rules I was I was brought up being taught by my mum. One of the earliest things I ever remember my mum saying to me is, you don't judge a person based on what their color of their skin is or what their religion is. You judge them based on them. And I think that kind of needs to be applied as much as possible across all situations, that people are responsible for their own actions and not the actions of a group that they might belong to.
Yeah, it just seems to be the big PC thing now to apologise for everything.
Yeah, it does. And there's some cases where we do need a little bit of recognition. I sometimes talk about the Armenian genocide, which literally is by Nazis, which is denied by the Turkish government. That's one example where you need acknowledgement. It doesn't mean you need to punish people who live today. Something happened 100 years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, because if you don't even know about that, about 1.5 million people died in that. It's actually denied by the British government as well.
Yeah.
Okay, when you talk about you're essentially talking about white man's guilt. So should a person be guilty for the crimes of their fathers? Okay, now I'm kind of troubling over this thing myself. Now you have to look at the empire that was created, I suppose, through religion and military force, and I suppose it's very, very difficult especially now, because we're so detached from it, I suppose. So detached, I suppose, through I don't know. What made us detached from our feeling of globalization. At least then, if we had an attachment to our globalization back in the day, at least then we'd say, okay, yes, we're fucking racist. But at least now we're just racist, you know? I don't know. Swiss, what do you think?
It might be my turn to ask you to rephrase that question, if possible.
Yeah, I did just go off on one. Okay, so you understand that there is the empirical need for the West to go forthright and conquer.
Oh, I don't
that
know.
Was a question. Yes or no?
That was. I understand the empirical need for the West to go and conquer things.
Okay, so we created an empire. Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So.
Sorry. When you said empirical, did you mean as in the word empire?
Yes.
When I hear empirical, I mean like I thought it was as in empirical evidence or something.
Oh no. Empirical. So we did do it. Yes.
Yes, we did.
Yes, we created an empire. So we enslaved loads of races during that time, and we have. I'm trying to cut this short. So we have got loads of benefits because of that empire that we created. Granted, it's shrunk over the last 50 years, but we still garner the benefits that that empire created. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Should we suffer white guilt? Because although we weren't personally involved, but do you think we should suffer guilt from that?
No, I don't think we should. It's the
I agree.
I mean, for example, a similar example, like a person, I don't know, like imagine a German person my age, a German person born in the 90s, not long after the reunification. It's like asking them to feel guilt for the Holocaust when that took place 50 years before they were even alive.
Agreed.
I'd say that, you know, as a point of education within the country, as a point of understanding the history of your country and what it means to be a member of that country, of course, it's essential to learn about that, learn about what a horrible thing it was and why it should not be repeated. But any sort of concept of guilt, I think, guilt is something that belongs to someone who is guilty of something. And
I agree.
They're guilty of no crime.
Okay. I completely agree. But taking that one step further is that taking the understanding that, yes, as white people, it doesn't matter whether you're white or not, right? I don't like to talk about people that are not here, but just an example, Stizer says he's not white, but he is perceived as white, for instance. Okay, so just to lay it out is that to be perceived as white, you then have privilege, and you then have the privilege that's laid out over 300 years, right? But there is a huge but here. That fails to recognize the studies that have taken into account that that as white people, especially on the lower end of the spectrum, so if you free school meals, this kind of thing, so the class effect, you actually look at the statistics, and it actually comes down to class. Past when it goes beyond the fact that, you know, we should feel guilty. you know, everything I was talking about before, it turns out to be bullshit. There is a big fucking gulf between the lower Strassend of the economics strata and the upper strata, you know, and it's all about class, is what I'm talking about, I suppose. Did you get that?
I think so, yeah. But it's all about class, basically. Is
essentially
your analysis?
Yeah. Beyond the beyond what I was talking about before, beyond the us conquering like other countries, beyond that, beyond our ancestors, you know, white on white violence, beyond that, you know, this is what we have now, and this is what we have to deal with, and we're all in the same boat. And at the end of the day, if you're working class, you're fucked, I suppose. It's the bottom line.
Here's a slight tangent, but given that you've brought up the working class, what do you think of the fact that there was a very sort of heavy vote, bringing us back onto Euroscepticism, actually, what this stream was on. What do you think about the fact that there's a heavy vote for Brexit among the working classes in this country? And yet, arguably, I'm not saying this is the case in all cases, but I'm saying arguably, there was a heavy vote for Brexit among the working classes, and many of those telling us in general, "Oh, Brexit's an awful thing; it's a mistake; it should be undone," are more likely to be the middle classes.
Well, that's completely true. It's generally the working class out. This is take Scotland out. Take Scotland, Northern Ireland, and London out. The working class in England and Wales being people forgotten, and these same people say Brexit's a mistake, or the very same people are at fault at reason why Brexit happened. But I would argue it's inevitability after decades of ignorance by the political class. I mean, if someone complains about immigration versus immigrants taking our job, it might be not entirely to immigration, or in all cases, it might be just to do with a lack of jobs, a lack of actual quality jobs.
Well, yeah. Essentially, I would agree with that. Can you rephrase the question one more time for us, Swiss?
I'm trying to think of what I was asking a question there. Yeah, okay. I was just going to say, given that sort of your analysis of sort of your analysis of saying, like, you know, the best lens at which to look at things through would be the class lens. How does that factor in with your views on Brexit, given that if kind of the the working class being fucked is kind of, you know, as you'd put it, probably one of the worst things, and arguably that the working class needs to be advocated for. How does that factor into your feelings about Brexit, given surprisingly the working class were quite a heavy driving force in that vote for us to leave the European Union?
How much depth do you want me to go into?
Give me like a 5 out of 10 on depth. Maybe a 6.
I was like, okay. So there is this idea that immigrants are stealing workers' jobs, like especially low-skilled jobs. Whereas, you know, you, me, everybody else knows this is bullshit. Most of it is down to technology, right? So the right is trying to reinforce this idea that immigration has tried to reinforce this idea that they're trying to steal your jobs. And so this is leading into the Brexit vote, which I think actually tipped the scales when it came to the Brexit thing. Whereas anybody that knows the facts, granted it's post-facts, I suppose, because I knew it beforehand, but I'm not sure about you, Captain Swiss. Did you know that the immigrants, apparently I heard that you actually voted Remain. Is that true?
Me?
Yeah, you.
No. I voted Leave. I don't know where you heard I voted Remain from.
I heard you were reluctant Remain, and then you voted Leave.
Well, it's correct that I was Remain and then I turned Leave, but I turned Leave.
Oh, okay.
But I turned Leave before the vote, so I did vote to Leave.
Oh, okay, granted. But of course, I mean, this is something that I spoke to JJ about. This is how IDPOL or identity politics was used against the workers. It's a tool that's used by the right. You alienate and split the left. Therefore, they can't consolidate and fight against the right. Yeah, I mean, it's been a tool that's been used for 200 years. I mean, it depends how far you want me to go back, dude. Like, honestly, it's been really. Next question.
Okay, I think you've given me an answer.
If you want me to clarify, I can clarify how, like, for instance, it's not about the color of the skin. So, for instance, in the 1850s, right, when the Irish were going to Boston in America, they were used as strike breakers in like the Ford factory, like, for instance. These are kind of thing, because when you're looking at IDPOL, it wasn't just like black against white. It was white against white. It was people that were supposed to be natives, but obviously they weren't natives. They were people that went in the 1700s and actually fought the Civil War. But then they had like these really big ideas that they owned the country, but despite the fact that there were loads of natives there. But anyway, nobody talks about that. But there were also loads of Irish people like being imported as cheap labor, and they were like, hang on, all these Irish people are taking our jobs, and they're like, yeah, what the fuck are you gonna do about it? And they're like, well, and go strike. Well, these guys are gonna take your jobs, and like, you bastards, and so it's the same tricks again and again and again. So believe me, when I look at what's going on in today's working society, I really get fucking tired, because it's just read a fucking history book. Honestly, mate, identity politics, yes, it's fucking bullshit when it comes to what black or people that are perceived to be black, whether it be Asian or whatever, and where you're supposed to go, yes, it's fucking shitty, but I think if we work together, I think this is the key. If we work together, and this is the thing that they did in the 19th and the 18th century, is they worked out how to work together. I mean, look at the fucking Russian Revolution, the French Revolution. We worked out how to work together, no matter what our differences was. We can do it, you know. That's my point, I suppose.
I see. All right. I don't know. I enjoyed listening to that, but I think I forgot what my initial question has been to you in relation to what you had to say there. But nonetheless,
so you got no question for me? Like, I mean, I literally did go off on one, going. You got no question, honestly. There must be a question in the side chat. No, there's fuck all there.
I've got the out of interest, just on like the title and the subject of the video. What did you guys end up talking about as far as Euroscepticism and the future of the Labour Party goes?
Listen to that.
Wow.
Yeah, I know, right? Absolute bullshit. No, Abby, you go first. She's gone. Cameron, you go first.
What's this about?
Tie over the video.
I was just asking what you guys ended up discussing as far as Euroscepticism and the Labour Party went.
Well, it went quite well. I think we discussed more of it off air because we waited. Like, what I want to do is want to have some remainders, some strong remainders, but no one else joined. So we started. Look, I think it went well. So we basically talked about what's happening with the Labour Party recently, in terms of its policy towards Brexit, and how that's going to be in the future.
I can be the Remainer if you want. I can just for today, one night only. I'll put a Remainer hat on, and I'll argue things from the side of a Labour Remainer if you like.
I mean, sure, if you want.
Just if you're looking for someone to represent that side, and we don't have it, you know, where's Angels when you need her?
Here's the thing that pissed me off. I don't understand what Labour are doing. Maybe Swiss, you can help me understand. I've tried to understand it.
Okay.
With Abby, I literally just don't understand what the Labour Party are doing. Why would they do it? Why would they draw a line in the sand? Why would they do it?
Which line in the sand are we talking about?
You know, they'd have the okie dokie Brexit situation.
Oh, in out, shake it all about.
Yeah, basically. Which is essentially what they're proposing.
Is your question, Swiss, can you make head nor tail of Labour's present Brexit policy?
Basically, yes.
Oh, trust me, it's something I spend a lot of time trying to work out.
You're the only one that can, if you can.
But you're our go-to kind of like person. Like, come on, if I'm too sick to work it out, you must be. Go on.
All right, I'll give you the.
Well, at least give it a guess. You know?
Yeah, I'll give it a guess. Well, as I often say, I think Corbyn's between a bit of a rock and a hard place because personally, I think he's got Eurosceptic leanings. I think instinctively he'd probably like to be out of the EU, and he knows that. You know, I think he does genuinely believe that the vote took place and the result of that referendum needs to be respected. So he's going along with that to a certain degree. But then, on the other hand, you've got a large bulk of the Labour membership and a large bulk of the Labour MPs that wants to see either the softest Brexit possible or ideally no Brexit whatsoever. And he's trying to straddle the line to keep both sides happy in that sense.
And you know what happens when you try and keep both sides happy is that
you make no one happy.
Exactly. Yeah,
indeed.
This is the situation that we are in that right now.
In fact, a really good example of this is I think there was an announcement from a day or two ago that Corbyn had said that a new Labour Party Brexit objective or something was going to be they wanted full single market access, and they'd instruct their MPs to. Well, exactly. But they'd instruct their MPs to vote accordingly. You know, any legislation for Brexit needs to ensure that we have full single market access, that sort of thing. And I think from what I read, Corbyn did this to attempt to throw a bone to the Remainers and soft Brexiteers in his party to say to them, right, you know, we're gonna add this onto the books. This is going to be one of our objectives now. Is that enough for you not to, you know, defy the whip in future and vote on Brexit legislation as I instruct you to? And the response back he got was basically the Remainers in the party going, no. That's nowhere near good enough, Corbyn. This is nothing. We need to stop Brexit, or we need to, you know, forget full access to the single market. We want membership of the single market, or whatever. But then on the same day that this was announced, I saw newspapers such as The Telegraph, well, much of the right-wing press, but other fellow Brexiteers as well, kind of going, this announcement is like another shift towards soft Brexit from Corbyn and Labour. He's selling us down the river. He's got no intention of going through with Brexit. So in the space of a day, and he made this announcement, it didn't please the Remainers, which he was hoping for it to, and he managed to piss off some Brexiteers, which was a side effect. So it's like you can't get anywhere permanently sitting on the fence. And I do think,
I completely agree with that analysis. Essentially, I mean, you can't sit on the fence too long, because someone's going to have to offer you a cushion at some point, you know. And whether you take it from the Remainers or the Brexiteers, it's up to you. And he's tried to straddle it, but and this is my point, I suppose, and this is where I think your analysis falls down, is that I think that he could have been anything he wanted to, right?
He could have been anything he wanted to be. Da, 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 da. Sorry, carry on.
No, carry on, mate.
I'm going to run out of lyrics in a minute. Carry on. Sorry.
He could be anything he wanted to be, because he's in opposition. I mean, that's the advantage of being in opposition, and the fact he's now given up that stance. I think he's fucked, you know, because there's no general election on the horizon, you know. So why did he give up that what do you call it, that length, that field, that it depends what sport you play. You know, that court, that I mean, what
I guess that's
why did he give it up, right? So I mean, like I said, as far as I'm concerned, right, and bear with me, the Tory party are in charge of Brexit, right?
Yeah.
Labour and Jeremy Corbyn are in charge of fuck all, right?
Yeah.
So why would the Labour Party need to have a Brexit stance?
Well, because they're the official opposition, or as Corbyn likes to put it, the government in waiting. So
okay,
if Corbyn's pitch to the country is this government isn't working, there could be an election any time at the drop of a hat, the Labour Party's ready to take over and govern, the Labour Party needs to have a position on the biggest issue facing the country right now. I think they'd be a very poor opposition if they didn't have, well, I mean, I don't think they have a clear Brexit policy, but I think that if they made no effort to try and suggest what their Brexit policy was, then it would play straight into the hands of the Conservatives, because they'd say, look, here's the Labour Party in opposition. They're criticising us for doing Brexit, yet they've got no idea what they'd want to do themselves.
Granted, but they're in opposition. so they can do whatever they want. They can say everything that you just said. Granted,
the big issue, the elephant move with that power point, because we have a hung parliament, we have a very weak government, and we have a very divisive topic in the Constitution. It's called Brexit. Now, Corbyn's aim, right, to move towards soft Brexit, I don't think he's trying to throw a burn at his MPs, actually. Because these people oppose him no matter what he does. You think Chucker Numbers is going to stop Corbyn if he says, I want people's vote? You'd be mistaken. These people want him gone altogether. And that's ideological. What Corbyn hopes to do in the big votes on Brexit is to humiliate the government and further weaken them. And that's I think he's trying to, by talking about the Remainers airport. In reality, we actually want to vote with him is people like kind of Super and Kenneth Clark, who actually want a soft Brexit.
That's interesting. Yeah,
I see what you're saying. So it's kind of political manoeuvring on Labour's part. You think if they can find the sweet spot to have the right Brexit policy that can expose the divisions in the Tories.
But they've been trying that for the last fucking 6 months, haven't they? They've been trying to find the political sweet spot, and if you look at the Labour manoeuvring, essentially all you get from it is pragmatism, essentially, and that you know what pragmatism leads to, don't you?
Lib Dems.
Yeah, basically, it leads to centrism, which leads to the dark side of politics.
Actually, an article about the Mirror was comparing Corbyn to Blair on this move.
Really?
Yeah. This was this morning, actually.
I think there's an interesting double-edged sword here, though, which is, of course, I don't blame them in being the opposition.
Is it Occam's razor? Is it Occam's razor?
Is it Occam? Occam's razor is the one where you dismiss something that doesn't carry proof. Is that it? Is that Occam's razor?
Keep going. Keep going.
I wasn't gonna talk about Occam's razor. I was just gonna say there's a double-edged sword, which is, of course, the opposition wants to expose the government as much as it can. That is the job of the opposition at the end of the day, and they want to find the best Brexit position possible to hold separate to that of the government, so then they can say, oh, the government's doing an awful job. If we were doing it, it would be an awful lot better. But I think the danger is for Labour, if they move to too much of a soft Brexit position, which I think they're beginning to do at least, then yes, it lets them put the pressure points on the government, which is obviously what they want to do. But then it will piss off a load of potential Labour voters and supporters who back leaving. People like myself, for example. I've said in the past, realistically, if a general election were to come along, I don't think I could see myself voting for the Conservatives just in order to get Brexit, even though it matters a lot to me, because I can't countenance the actions of the Conservatives over the last decade. It's just been too many awful things they've done.
Could you talk for every other Brexiter, though?
No, I can't. And this is the point. I think that there are people out there who won't hold as much maybe like residual loyalty to Labour as I might. And to be honest, if Labour were to move much more soft Brexit than they are at present, I would potentially consider punishing them at the next election by spoiling my vote or voting for some, I don't know, like an independent candidate, basically throwing my vote away. So it's, they need to be careful. Which is why I say it's so difficult sitting on the fence. It's a tightrope. They've got to try and balance the objectives of the referendum in terms of leaving and trying to expose the government and bring them down at the same time. And I've known this to be the case for absolutely ages, but sort of as a Labour supporter and a leaver, you can't be happy.
Here's a question for you, and this is a straight question. Do you feel better now that apparently Labour have clarified their position on Brexit. Are you feeling fulfilled that they've done this?
No. I mean, what have they clarified recently? Is this the objective to full access to the single market?
Like, honestly, apparently they've clarified something. They've done something that means that they have a stance on.
Hold on, one moment. You're saying what we're saying. Apparently, they've clarified something, but what it is they've clarified is not clear.
Well, yeah, exactly.
Well,
so, oh, dude, hang on. Give me like some time. Apparently, right? Labour have clarified their stance on Brexit, and like I said, it's the okie dokie. So 1 foot in, 1 foot out. They want to be a part of the
single market.
Yeah.
No, they said to leave it. Right, it is confusing, but I'll say what I understand of it is that Labour will leave the single market. They're as close as possible relationship. Look as tight as possible.
As close as possible.
Yeah, and they'll leave the customs. We have our own customs partnership. So that's basically the position.
So as far as I understand it, then Labour's position is to leave both the single market and the customs union, but come out with something very similar to the single market and the customs union.
Yes.
Yeah.
Essentially,
As far as sorry,
I understand they're delusional.
Yeah, exactly right. Of course they are.
I was going to say
fucking delusional.
So your question was, does that clarification instill me with new confidence?
Yes.
No, not in the slightest. Not whatsoever.
No shit. I mean, of course it doesn't. You know. So what was the point in coming out with it? Which is my original point.
Well, perhaps because I'm not the target audience who they're attempting to impress with this policy. I'm quite a hard Brexiter. My position on Brexit might only represent 25% of the population. People who want a very clear-cut Brexit.
This is the problem. Most of our conversation, if we go back, was to do with class, and this is the problem: is that they failed to address class when it came to the Brexit vote. What I'm saying is, why don't people understand the class issues? And if you actually watch the thing that I did with Angels and Cam, the things about aliens and stuff. Yeah, what we talked about. What I said was, class actually interrupts everything, and it interrupts the fact that we can't get any further. Like, dude, you're a really good talker, right? And you can speak really, really well, okay? And you have a degree in computer games design, okay? But if you want to go and do that, normally you have to go and to do you have to go to a computer games people and
I have to go to the computer games people.
Yeah, and you have to go and do a thing where you do your job, but you don't get paid for it. It's like an
internship or an apprenticeship.
Yeah, an apprenticeship. Yeah, exactly. Okay. And now I have to link that back to what we were talking about before.
You do. I wish you the best of luck.
Fuck.
You were talking about class. You were talking about Labour and Brexit and how they forgot about class, and class is important because
there we go. I've got it. So class is very important, and Labour have forgotten about class because generally the lower class were alienated due to the influx of immigration, right? And normally, or of course, we know that it's not about the influx of immigrants that actually affected the reduction of wages. It was because of societal situations. What would have been better is if we actually look at societal situations before we talked about immigration. That would have been better. And that was my point. Oh, for fuck's sake. Does that make sense?
Yes. I think I get what you're saying. I think to a degree, at least, Corbyn had tried to address some of that when he was talking about the posting of workers directive. I think that was the area he spoke about.
I know, but the problem, he's actually bowing down to actually the centrists, and the problem with the centrists is they're not willing to look at systemic fucking issues when it comes to race and class, right? And what Jeremy Corbyn wants to actually do, which is actually what he's fought for throughout his entire fucking career, is actually look at class and race and how it's fucking linked. And why is it that people on free school meals are only getting 5 GCSEs, whereas people in predominantly white areas are getting 10 or 11 GCSEs? These are the things that we need to look at beyond fucking beyond Brexit. And where Brexit actually links in is that why are people looking at society that they're not a part of? Of course we need to be a part of society. Let's create a new society, and this is what Jeremy Corbyn is trying to do. So yeah, this is what we're trying to do. Sorry. Does that make sense?
I followed it. When you were tying it back to originally when you said that as far as Brexit goes, he's forgetting about what you just spoke about there. Are you saying he's forgetting about that in terms of how people will react to Labour's Brexit policy, or are you saying he's just not putting enough emphasis on other issues other than Brexit?
Well, yeah, I think that it needs to be brought back to domestic issues, right? And I think that I am against. Granted, I am against this new white paper that's going forward, and I am against this 1 foot in, 1 foot out kind of Brino, I suppose you call it, like a Brino Brexit.
Yeah,
Brexit name only, I suppose is the term for it, isn't it? Yeah, of course. Like because we don't have a vision for post-Brexit Britain, right? That's the problem. And this is the thing. Don't get me wrong. I will remember this fucking conversation because I will be fucking vindicated. We need to have a fucking post-Brexit Britain. And that means in green industrial sectors, it needs to be in education and up-to-date, right? Sectors, right? So we need to learn about, like, when you learn history, what did you learn about when you were in school? Can you remember?
Oh Christ! The Romans, the Egyptians, the Tudors, World War One, World War Two. I think that was that probably makes up most of it.
Okay. Here's one for you, right? When you learned about World War II, tell me what caused World War II?
In school, we were told that World War II began when Nazi Germany invaded Poland.
Okay, so it's got nothing to do with the fact that after World War One, the austerity measures that were increased on Austria and Germany caused a rise of the right-wing fascist wing, which then, caused World War II. So you weren't told about that then?
No, that sort of extra info stuff that I've kind of had to learn since then.
Since then, exactly. Yeah, our education is not fit for purpose, and when they talk about austerity, which we're going through now, it's really, really shitty. And like I said, austerity caused the rise of the Third Reich. For fuck's sake, man. Really? Have we not learned? This is why we're looking at the rise of Tommy Robinson and fucking Stefan Molyneux and, all these fucking people. Really? The rise of the right.
Go on, Cameron.
Yeah, it's said the point about the rise of the right. You know what created the big issue of the fascists, don't you? Sir Oswald Mosley was a Labour minister in the first Labour government. Well, the second Labour government, actually. Just after the Great Depression. And basically what happened is that Mosley wanted to oppose austerity. Oppose it, but the government wanted austerity. And that's why he resigned from the government and left Labour. Then he went to Italy. Let's say, seduced by fascism. Then he formed British Union Fascists. But yeah, austerity drives people to extremes.
Cameron, do you agree with what I said?
Yeah.
Thank you.
I think, speaking about austerity as well, for that matter, I certainly think that the impact of the Wall Street crash and that sort of being felt around the world kind of made things, it made things bad for a lot of countries, but it made it even worse for countries that were already basically bankrupt.
Well, exactly. And like I said to JJ, one of the worst fucking lies that we've heard within our lives is the fact that there's no such thing as society. There's no such thing as neighborhoods. There's no such thing as us working together. There's only greed, right? And we're supposed to believe that this is human nature. This bullshit. There is such thing as society. We are supposed to work together. We are supposed to, be. We are communal people. We are people that can communicate. We are people that can cooperate. We are people that can talk and educate. And this is what does my head in. Really, really does my head in. And you're a millennial almost, aren't you?
I suppose so. I always wonder which of them generational definitions I'm supposed to fall into, but I think I'm probably a millennial. Yeah.
Well, I'm Generation X, apparently. So
yeah, that probably makes me a millennial by contrast then.
Nah, it's all good, man. It's all good. The fact that you're smarter than me actually fills me with hope, to be honest. Especially you and Cam, it fills me with hope. I hope for the left. Honestly, I've seen what happens to society under Thatcher, and when people think about their own shit. I've seen what happens, but I've seen a reaction to that. We've seen the right wing reaction to that, which is Trump, and there's the joke that BMEs play the race card, women play the feminist card, and white men play the Trump card. So, you know, there are, you know, this is the thing that we're trying to deal with, you know.
Well, it was a very nice compliment you paid me there. I appreciate that. I don't know about me being smarter than you though. There's plenty of stuff that you're far more knowledgeable than me about that I've been learning from you in the time we've known each other.
That's bullshit. Absolute fucking bullshit. All
No.
I do is read fucking comics and stuff. So, but we can if you want to point us, we can do it off air, but I won't do it on air.
You'd be surprised the amount of my spare time I spend watching Star Trek. Basically, that's half of my spare time. I'll be doing other stuff, but there'll always be Star Trek on the background on Netflix.
No, dude. Like I watched my fucking video with JJ, and all I heard was that's all I heard, man. I was just like, oh my god, can you actually articulate a fucking word?
It's hard to avoid doing that though. Like I've noticed the same thing. I mean, I don't know how much I do it, and perhaps I've improved since I started doing YouTube stuff. But it's very easy to watch yourself, you know, to play yourself back and always notice every time you trip up on a word or you go off on a tangent or any of that kind of stuff. I think, you know, a person's own biggest critique is usually themselves.
You should still do some sex lines though, man. I swear, you'd earn loads of money.
What, sex lines?
Smooth. Yeah. You should phone up like bored housewives or something and go, hey, how you doing? Bang chicka wow wow.
Bang chicka wow wow.
Yeah, definitely.
I should make you aware right now that calls are going to be charged at 50 pence per minute. Increasing to £1 a minute after the first 10.
Yeah.
For comments on Euroskepticism, press 1. For a tirade against Tony Blair, press 2.
For an loving on Anthony. for Anthony Ben, for a loving on Anthony Ben, press flee. Press free. Press free.
What time is it over there, Chang-Chi?
What? Sorry.
What time is it over there in South Korea, as we'd call it down in Essex?
God, it's sun up, man. It's 8 minutes to 5 a.m.
Oh goodness.
Yeah, I know, right? Oh fuck! God damn it, you bastard! So yeah, I'm gonna knock this on the head. Like, I feel like I didn't explain myself fully, so it helps if I have a question. Like, do you understand? Do you understand what I said? Like, or not?
I understand most of the things that you said.
Yeah.
But I mean, the good thing is that we've got plenty of opportunities to have these conversations at a time where it's not 5 o'clock in the morning for you. So anything that we didn't get to the heart of, we can rehash another time.
Okay, so there's nothing hung in over you. You think, oh God, you're a classist, racist bastard or anything.
No, not more so than usual. I'm joking. I joke.
Also, now I'm gonna be grating on that all fucking night.
No, don't. I don't want you like leaving this conversation chewing over the conversation with Swiss, going, "Oh no, I hope he didn't get the wrong end of the stick."
Well, this is what always does my nut in, you know, because this is new to me, right? I've never kind of expressed my political views before, and I've now been doing it for like 8 weeks, and a couple of people, granted that I've known through you, have actually said like, big up Shafted, big up Bob Others. You know, there's a few people that have said, okay, you know, you've got something to say, and JJ as well. You know, fair play to him to give me time on his channel and give me a platform. But nobody really fucking challenges me and says, no, what you say is shit. So that that tells me either one of two things: either what I say is absolutely right, which is I know is fucking bullshit, or well, nobody wants to challenge me, which I think is bullshit. You know? I just want to talk to people, right? Isn't that fair?
That is fair. I mean, it depends. It depends on how much you want to be challenged. Like, there's, you know, we can dig deep into the real heart of what our differences are, if you like. But like in most conversations on most streams, it's like when I'm talking to angels, right? There's a lot of very clear underlying differences between me and her on Brexit, obviously, but then there are other differences there as well. Like in the conversations that we'll have, I won't choose every time we chat to deliberately try and dig into that trench and, you know, make it wider. Not everything has to get to the absolute heart of where our ideological differences lie. Sometimes it's just interesting to discuss things with a slightly opposing point of view. But I mean, if you want to have a chat at some point where we kind of go for a much more combative style, you know, where we kind of go, right, these are your views, these are my views, let's really get to the heart of what our differences are and try and really challenge each other on those underlying beliefs, then we can do so. But it's not usually my first instinct to go after someone like that.
Are you capable? This is my question now. Are you capable?
Am I capable of doing that?
Yeah, because your name's Captain Swiss. You're the mediator, aren't you?
That's right. I'm the Dimbleby in chief.
Yeah. Well, Dimbleby. Well, no, you're just Swiss. You're the mediator. I think Dimbleby is a misnomer.
Yeah, it's something I'm capable of.
You understand that reference, don't you?
Yeah, I understand the reference. It's something that I'm obviously capable of doing. I guess often, at least when I'm hosting people on my channel, a lot of the time I'm just trying to get from A to B of like, okay, here's some things for us to talk about on a Sunday stream. Let's get everyone's points of view across. Let's find out what people got to say. I take on the mantle of a host rather than a participant a lot of the time.
That's fair enough. That's fair enough. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to sign off, actually, and I'm going to say thank you. Thank you for giving me a platform. Cameron?
Sorry. Yeah, it's been good having you on.
He did. He's just like, he's just fucking doing whatever he's like. Fucking doing whatever.
Cooking the spuds,
like,
right?
He didn't even notice that I was still here. Yeah, nice one. Nice one, Cameron. Here I am giving you some love, right? And you just like, yeah, all right, mate. Yeah, all right. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, cheers, mate. Swiss, wicked. Thank you for coming on, and we'll talk about this further. Yeah, I'm gonna go. I've got work in a few hours, so yeah, nice one.
Good luck, have fun.
Yeah, definitely, and I will definitely take you up on that. We'll talk about something that's well, Brexit's gonna come up soon, I'm sure.
We'll do. So. We could have a nice long chat at some point and drill into whether or not class is the best analysis of the world or something.
Oh yeah, I know. All right, okay, all right. Now you've triggered me. Now you've fucking triggered me. Yeah, you want to talk about fucking class. Yeah. Sunday, I'm gonna eat your guts for breakfast, mate. Just make sure you get your link in the. Yeah, just be on your guard, mate.
All right. I'll be like, shit, Champ Chew's coming for me, and he's armed with a shit ton of Mark's literature while he's at it.
I would hope so. And I will do my research, and please be on your guard for Sunday.
I've done it now. I've welcomed the storm in. I questioned the class analysis. It's screwed now. All right, man. I look forward to it.
Nice one. All right, guys. And Abby, take care. Bob Elvis, nice one in the side stream. I need to get some kit, man. I'm sorry, guys. But bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Latest.
So, is there anything else that anyone wants to talk about? On so anything on about Euroskepticism on the left?
I'd be interested to hear a bit more of your views, Cameron, on just what you think of the whole current Labour Party stance.
Yeah, it's extremely confusing. I mean, Cameron's the best is still. No, he's got his own views in his head, and it's obviously kind of Eurosceptic. But then it's got his own party members, and it's pushing him to become more soft. And that's basically the reflection of what's happening in the Labour Party. There's also a small group of MPs who basically want to honour the referendum. So take Karen Flint, which she may become my MP if the boundaries change. Well, I'm not sure. I'm not sure if they will. I haven't heard anything lately about that. She's basically gone about honouring Brexit. So we've got people like that, and we've got the moderate. Well, she's there, but we've got the moderates who predominantly basically badging Corbyn. So he's stuck, and Corbyn knows that most of his seats won't leave. So that muddies the situation even more. So, end of the day, it's just one big mess. It's a dividing pot on Labour.
Those are my thoughts exactly. It's a mess, and from a Brexiteer perspective, I don't think Labour's policy is ever really going to be enough to satisfy what I'd like to happen.
Wouldn't Tories either. So.
Well, yeah. This is the other problem. But I think the Tories. I think it was Jacob Rees-Mogg who'd once said that Theresa May's red lines were going a little bit pink. So I think if the Tories are going to fall short of a hard Brexit and kind of just have, well, I wouldn't describe it as a soft Brexit. I guess I'll just call it Brexit then, if that's the middle point between a hard and a soft one. And then it looks like Labour's going to go for a soft Brexit. So neither of the parties are really going to perform the sort of Brexit I'd ideally be after. But that just appears to be the situation now. I don't know what there is to be done about it other than to try and salvage some kind of Brexit away from the FBPE types to stop them from packing it in altogether.
Well, FPV types are not getting any power unless Corbyn goes. Let's be honest with that one. But I think maybe Pete Hitchens was right about Brexit. So after the referendum, you know what he actually said? That we should have had a party with a majority, with a mandate for Brexit. With a majority of Brexit MPs.
Yes, I think that would be ideal, and I think the current situation's a real shame because we have a policy which the country has told our politicians to enact, and yet Parliament is made up mostly of MPs who don't really want a Brexit, and both of the main parties have very significant chunks of people who don't want a Brexit. So it's like we're getting the people we've got in charge of doing this are not the people ideologically who even really want it to happen.
Yes, and that's true with the Tory Brexiteers. Now, Boris Johnson, I don't know if you can remember this, he actually wrote a column for Guardian back in May and back in Leave. They're actually undecided. And the only reason he turned out to leave because it looks like his own career interest. So we've got him, people like him in influencing positions. Now, as a foreign secretary, it must have some influence on a Brexit policy. So we've got people like him who are very reluctant Brexiteers, like Boris. Then we've got people like Theresa May, who remain, and then we've got David Davis, who I honestly think I think he hates his job at the moment.
I think Boris you could probably describe as like a Brexiteer of opportunity. He chose to because he thought it'd be expedient. Theresa May is like a Brexiteer of necessity. She didn't really want to leave, but she's been landed with the job. I'd say in the Tory party, the only sort of types who you could really point to go, yeah, I'd say they're dyed-in-the-wool, true blue Eurosceptics would be people such as Jacob Rees-Mogg. Like when Mogg says he wants to leave the EU, I believe him. I don't think there's any sort of political calculation behind that. I think that's genuinely what his belief is.
Can I ask something? Do you not think that it's got to such a state that neither party seem to have the will to go through Brexit, that therefore we should say, right, let's get all the Brexiteers in Parliament and they run it?
What was your question? Sorry, is it that the parties in Parliament are basically running out of the will to live as far as getting Brexit through goes?
No, well, the majority of MPs have got their own interests at heart and they don't want to leave. They want to stay with the EU for whatever reason, whether it's money or, bribery, corruption, whatever. So why don't we get all the real Brexiteers like Jacob, like Hui, Skinner, all the ones who actually are really keen to leave the EU, and let them form a committee and handle it, because we're never going to get anywhere with the lot that don't want us to go.
I think, sadly, well, first of all, I agree with the idea of that. I've always believed that Brexit would be best done by a group of people or a government that actually believes in leaving the EU. I think that would have been the best thing for starters. But sadly, I think that Parliament, the vast majority of MPs in Parliament are Remainers, or soft Brexiteers, as we'd call them. And I don't think there's like a snowball's chance that they'd ever allow that to happen. Because as far as they're concerned, the people who want Brexit, who want a proper Brexit, the people that they refer to as the Brextremists on the right or whatever.
A terrible lot.
Yeah. I don't think they'd ever allow that to happen. I think as far as they're concerned, they see Brexit as basically a damage, and this is a real shame, but I think the majority of MPs in Parliament see Brexit as a damage limitation exercise. They see it as this awful thing that should have never happened and was a complete mistake to happen, and their basic goal is to say, okay, then, well, if we've got to leave, we might as well make it so it's as similar to the EU as it was before.
Yeah, I agree with what you're saying, but I don't think the people should allow it to happen. And I think if it ends up being the mess I think it will, both parties are going to suffer. I don't think people will want either of them as they are, because I'm disgusted at Corbyn. He's been a Brexiteer as far as I'm concerned in mind, but he's never had the courage of his convictions to go ahead and actually lead his party as he should do.
I think I've probably still got a little bit more time for Corbyn than you do, but as far as being disappointed with his Brexit policy, it's something that I share in with you. At this point, Labour's Brexit policy isn't really something I could ever say that I support, or that I wouldn't even justify it. I'd say I can look at what's going on and say I can understand the steps of why they've arrived at where they are, but it doesn't mean I support what they're doing. I guess
I
at the
can't
moment,
even understand how they arrived at where they are, because they seem to keep saying we're going to leave the single market, but we're still going to have all the conditions that we would have if we were in it. They're delusional, totally delusional.
It's not possible. The reality of it, it's not actually possible. The ones that can't eat it. But what I see will happen if Labour enjoys a Brexit. That won't actually happen. In reality, we're going to have a harder Brexit than they're asking for.
I hope so.
Because it really won't allow
it. Here's a question to both of you then. Because as far as I'm concerned, I think the Tories are more likely to deliver a proper Brexit than the Labour Party ever would be.
Yeah, I agree.
That's what I was going to ask, whether you guys share in that opinion, which is a really difficult thing for me to say. I consider myself to be on the left. I've got a load of issues with the Conservatives, and I don't think I could ever bring myself to vote for them because of so many things they've done which have negatively impacted people, which I just find abhorrent. But that said, I don't think the Labour Party any longer represents my interests on Brexit.
I feel exactly the same. And in fact, I don't think half to three quarters of the current Labour politicians are Labour politicians. I don't think they should be in the Labour Party representing them.
Well, they're not the very bourgeois, middle class, I would say, or the MPs. Lots of them are implants. Lots of them are implants from London, the south. No? I'm going to talk about my own MP. As like a mansion in basically London, and Ed Miliband is not actually from around here, and that's a massive problem as well, because all the MPs are disconnected from the local areas. So basically, we've got 70% of Labour seats won't leave. But in these seats, basically, we've got loads of Remainers who have no connections with local areas. Now, that is maybe a big problem for Labour. It's basically the right for some sort of protest or surge if they're not careful on Brexit.
Yeah.
Which actually what happened in President Nuneaton, which are more sure on the locals, which are both quite marginal.
Yeah.
Like if you look at the marginal seats, right, in England, most of them are Leave voting seats, and some of the seats that Tories actually won from Labour, like Mansfield and Mullsy, both Leave voted too. Like, may see a pattern. Any gains that Labour can make in places like London or in Scotland may be hampered by losses than they never expected.
Yeah.
Now, we've a parliamentary seat. Another example is that we've got a parliamentary seat called Penistone and Stocksbridge. Right, that's in Barnsley. Now, that's got a period in Labour majority. That's been Labour for about 100 years. You see what I'm trying to get at is that they might lose much of their northern heartland to Brexit.
Yeah.
And this is why I think that as far as Labour's strategy goes at the moment, they're still trying to play to both sides, really. They're still trying to play to, keep the Remainers on side who want to stay as close to the EU as possible, but still play lip service to saying we're still actually leaving. Because if they veer too far in one direction, then they either stand to lose their inner cities or their northern seats.
Yeah, but I don't think you can play politics like that. Not when it's such an important thing as Brexit, because you just end up pissing everybody off.
Pretty much, yeah. Because the situation you've got now is, Brexiteers like us, we're pretty dissatisfied with Labour's policy on it. But I've seen plenty on Twitter and in other places of the FBPE types and the Remainers who are also really disappointed, going, "Oh, you're teaming up with the Tories, Corbyn, doing this awful, evil Nazi Brexit. How dare you?" That sort of thing.
issue with them, they actually told me they won't never vote Labour. They say it's too left wing. Either way. No, FBP are basically Blairs and Lib Dems. There's a group of people that most of them won't vote Labour, regardless.
Yeah. No, I don't see. You're right. You're right. In fact, the one common trait I seem to see is that they're a lot more interested in stopping Brexit from happening than they are from getting a Labour government in.
They don't want Corbyn as. I mean, the majority of his MPs don't want Corbyn to be PM.
Yeah.
And I think they're getting more out of, whether it's monetary position, power, or whatever, if we stay in the EU. And if that means having another Tory government, it won't matter to them because their bank balances are still going to go up.
Yeah, exactly, and this is why, but basically, they're going in back Harry. Because what will happen is they look at the situation and say, we're in government now. And most of them actually coincide. That's what I think will happen. It's like after that election, a lot of them coincide.
Yeah.
And I think most of them will. If there's another election, let's say, like it's in November, if Labour wins it, gets backed by the SNP, then I think most of them coincide.
I don't know. I have my grave doubts that either party are going to come out of this with any real solid party. I think there's going to be a split.
That's notable too. Labour's going to get split at one point. It's good. It's not when and that it. The Tories never really had splits, but I think they're going to get one.
I think they're getting new one.
Am I right in saying the last time the Tories split was like the 1800s or something?
Yeah, I think you're right. They don't argue. They don't have their factions out in public, do they? You get the odd whisper about disagreements at the cabinet table, but it's always very gentlemanly. You don't get all the, Imuna going to chat to this one, somebody else going off with that one, which Labour tend to have their little faction fights all the time.
Well, what the Tories do well, they keep it under the rug. Basically, another issue except Europe, which is the Achilles heel of the Tory party.
Yeah. But they don't argue in public, do they? Not to, it's the rare occasion when you get something leaked, maybe.
Yeah. There's spare occasion, like, remember when was it Justin Green? Was it resigned, basically? Or maybe forced to be sacked, who knows? Apparently, she were in the house for hours arguing choosing me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you're right there, though. I think with the exception of Europe, which has obviously divided the Tories for ages, and I suppose with Brexit having come along, that's only made it wider. But you're right. It seems from what I noticed that generally most of the major divisions in the Tory party seem to go on behind closed doors. Whereas with Labour, it seems to be rather clear what the main divisions are at the moment.
Yeah. I think so. And unfortunately, I think it's Corbyn on one side.
And everyone else on the other.
Everyone else on the other. And it has been for, the past year. Ever since he got re-elected, I think.
Yeah.
They begrudgingly supported him because he had...
It's always a small group of loyalists. And Brexiteers are always hard. So basically... There's no more than 40 MPs who would basically back Corbyn in a belief election. We know a couple that to move to his side since last year. But like Tom Watson, why he said against Corbyn recently? I think there's more and more MPs moving to him. But
I think you get people like Piddicke be on Corbyn's side from what you can hear. I don't know about the other new MPs, but I think Laura Piddock's a Corbynite.
Yeah. Chris Williamson.
I'll be back in just a second, guys.
Yeah.
All right. He turned MP again and moved towards Corbyn.
Yeah. But I don't know. I mean, who do you see as actually being his supporters now?
Right. I see there's a core group around them. So people like Dan Abbott, John McDonnell, and Barry Garner, Karen Hopkins, Dennis Skinner. It's mainly the Brexiteers and the whole left round.
Didn't Gardner stand against him before? Did he stand in the...
Not leadership.
Gardner? Because there was all that hoo-ha about Brexit, wasn't there? As well.
Gardner? Are you sure about that one?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I thought...
Are you thinking of Andy Burnham?
Yeah.
I think you're on about him.
Yeah, no, I think it's Gardner I'm thinking of. I'll have a look later and see what it was. But I remember there were a couple of things happened sort of around Brexit. It might have just been Brexit and not sort of leadership. But
what's this Barry Gardner are you talking about?
Yeah, wasn't there? Did he challenge with the leadership before?
Run for the leadership?
Yeah, or there was something, or he backed the other lot.
I think from what I remember, I can't remember if Gardner had supported somebody else in the leadership contest, but I know that he wasn't like a Corbyn ally to begin with.
No, that's what I thought.
But what Gardner said is he's basically said, well, I serve the Labour Party, and whoever the leader of the Labour Party is, I'll be in their shadow cabinet. That's what his stance is, apparently.
Right.
Yeah. So
I was just asking who Cameron thinks is Corbyn supporters at the moment.
I think at this point, most of the people he's got in his shadow cabinet are either supporters or neutral towards him. Although then again, most of the people are really either refused to be in the shadow cabinet or they've been point.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, the thing about Bygone, I think back to Andy Burnham, and then I think about Corbyn after that one, after that next election. I'm certain they did.
Right.
The funny thing I remember about the Labour leadership election, the one with Andy Burnham, Yvette Cooper, Liz Kendall, and Corbyn, is before Corbyn came along and kind of, he became the talk of that election. I remember when it was just the other three who were like the main contenders. What was being reported on at the time is that, that Andy Burnham, he might be a little bit too close to the unions. He might be a little bit too close to that Len McCluskey.
Oh, right.
And then and that was that was emerging as what the narrative for that leadership election was going to be. And then Corbyn comes along and blows it all out of the water, and you just think, wow. And they were worried about Andy Burnham being a little bit too left wing. It really shows how narrow their horizons were for that contest.
Well, you wonder if they didn't actually wear blinkers, don't you? Because otherwise, why didn't they see? I don't know.
I don't know about that leadership election. I had no hope of Labour then. Everyone was pretty awful. I think you remember when Chuck Number basically ran and then basically stopped because of media.
He stepped down, didn't he?
Yeah, everyone would talk about he winning the next election. He couldn't do it as Labour, but everyone was saying. What even thought
he doesn't realise it.
Yeah, and there's Kendall.
Yeah.
What
about? I'm having a mental blank. What's the shadow Home Secretary.
Diane Abbott.
No, I don't mean Home Secretary. Foreign Secretary.
Emily Thornberry.
That's it. I couldn't. I was having a senile moment. I couldn't remember her name.
A Diane Abbott moment, as some people call it.
Yeah. Oh, please don't ally me with Diane Abbott. I think she's a mistake for the front bench. No, but she shouldn't be on the front bench. She really shouldn't.
Right. She. What people say about Diane Abbott behind the scenes is actually really intelligent. Now she has gaps like Boris Johnson, but she's very clumsy. She doesn't know what she's talking about. She's not stupid. But she's not. But I think more than any of a single MP. Yeah. It's quite disheartening, actually. Nobody talks about. She's actually the first black female MP on. Right?
Yeah, but I think yeah, the front bench in a way is the advert for the Labour Party, aren't they? You know, they are the front of the Labour cabinet, and she may be a fantastic constituency MP, but I don't think she's got cabinet potential. Not to stand. She just gets herself into trouble.
I think, I mean, as far as what you said, Cameron, about, you know, behind the scenes, you know, she's actually very intelligent and she's good at what she does. I'm willing to believe that that's the case. And, you know, obviously she's been an MP for quite a few decades, so she's pretty familiar with that role. But to be completely honest, to me at least, she comes across as a bit of a lightweight. That's the way that she appears to me when I see her on TV interviews or any public appearances. Really, often that's the way she seems. It seems that she's a little bit out of her depth. Now, maybe that's not fair to her. Maybe she's a lot more competent at her role than I give her credit for. But unfortunately, if that's what I'm seeing, then that's probably what a lot of other people see as well.
Yeah, because that's how I see her. Yeah, you know, that somebody that's sort of filling a space.
Well, she made a few mistakes, and the media goes crazy about it. Diane Abbott gets abused more than anyone else in Labour, and it's quite undeserving. She does have a toxic image behind, and that's the problem behind it. Which actually commenting that, if you look at her seat, she got one of the highest Labour majorities in the country. She uses it every election. But the people who live in the seat, it's our Hackney or something like that. She's incredibly popular.
Yeah.
She's been in Parliament almost as long as Corbyn.
Oh, I mean, sorry, go on.
I want to read this mister, actually. Right, I won't going to say much else from that.
I was just going to say, like, obviously, because I've heard about some of the abuse that she gets, and you're right. Like, I've had commented on my videos before, people saying some really awful, vile things about Diane Abbott. And that I would not take any part in whatsoever. I think, like, the levels of abuse that she has had to deal with have been horrible, but that in itself isn't enough for me to sort of give her a free pass, I'm afraid. I try to judge her. I try to judge all MPs in the same sort of vein, in terms of how they appear to be performing in either the cabinet or the shadow cabinet and their public appearances and the rest of it. And just in the same way that I'd be critical of, like, a Tory MP for being a complete brick wall who doesn't have anything to say. Likewise, I'd say with Abbott, sometimes she seems like she's out of her depth. Yeah.
She's not a good ad-libber, she's not good, like, Jacob Rees-Mogg, they pull him up on the street and he's got the answers. He can stand there and talk. But Diane Abbott is a bit like a sort of, cat caught in the headlights. She's...
Well, I think that the issue with Abbott is that she basically doesn't like being in public. She's very... Apparently she's very shy, but... what I'll say is that she's not very. That's a liability. Actually, behind the scenes, what everything I hear about is actually brilliant.
Yeah, but wouldn't, in that case, wouldn't it be better staying on the back bench and being a really effective?
Well, I'm going to say no to that one because, firstly, she's probably the most low MP for Corbyn in there. Secondly, she's actually not stupid, and she actually knows what she's doing, even though she makes massive mistakes in public, right? Massive gaffes. There's worse in the Tory party comes to this. We can talk about Boris Johnson, right?
Well, I'd put them a bit on the par with the type of things they come out with. You know, they both seem to make the same sort of really silly sort of comments, and yet, you know, I mean, Boris has got to where he is. He was Lord Mayor. He must have some sort of brain, mustn't he?
Well, you could say something about Diane Abbott then, can't you?
Yeah, well, I mean, Diane Abbott as well, but I don't think either of them do themselves any favours by being in the positions they're in now, because it just gives everybody a chance to ridicule them.
Just to be clear quickly, I'm not actually questioning Diane Abbott's competence as either an MP or Shadow Home Secretary. I'm just commenting on the optics of it, just basically how she comes across. I'm perfectly willing to accept that she's completely she's completely good enough in the role that she does. It's just unfortunate that she doesn't come across that way.
Yeah. That's my opinion. And I wasn't actually going to talk about Diana, but what I was going to say was that Emily Thornberry, to me, could be a possible, I don't know, backstabber is the right word, but it would never surprise me if she suddenly went for Corbyn's jugular. And
oh, you think so?
Yeah.
I'm not too sure about Thornberry. She's one of the MPs that's basically come to Corbyn's side now.
You reckon?
I forgot her stance now on leadership election. She made me not pretty much neutral on it. But Thornberry is more to the centre than Corbyn.
Yeah.
It's a bit like Clark Lewis in that respect. Well, I don't think Thornberry would do it. I'm thinking it's sort of the backs of Corbyn. It's going to be Keir Starmer.
I don't like Keir Starmer.
No, I'm not big on him either, to be honest. As far as
that's just more of a personal.
I mean, it might have something to do with the Brexit policy as well.
No, would it?
Well, for me, it might be. If I'm going to acknowledge my own biases, if the Brexit secretary doesn't really believe in a proper Brexit, it's probably not going to be. I'm not going to be his biggest fan.
No, well, I must admit, I don't think I really like any anti-Brexit MPs. They sort of sink below 50%. Like as soon as they say they're anti.
Not even Karen Lucas.
I don't like her.
I think that since Brexit has come along, it's put like a bit of a mark next to the name of a lot of MPs I used to like, and Caroline Lucas is one of them. I think, I'd say I've still got a bit of admiration for her being the only Green MP, and I think considering she's like the only MP in Parliament of a pretty minor political party, she's done well for herself to get noticed. And, certainly some issues that she campaigns on, like she'll go and protest against fracking and she's not afraid to get arrested or whatever. I've got respect for that. But definitely since Brexit's come along, she loses a lot of points with me for being one of the whole trying to scupper it at any cost sort of people.
Yeah, that's really my major thing about her. I mean, she's very active in committees, but she can also be quite... She hasn't, not got a pleasant manner to the people she's interviewing when they sit before the committee. She's quite adversarial. Do I mean adversarial?
Adversarial? I think you do.
Yeah.
That's interesting. I haven't seen a great deal of Caroline Lucas in committees before. That would have to be something I'll have to have a look at.
Yeah, it's worth looking because she seems to chair fair few, and I think she might be. Now, is she on the Carillion one? And she's on the Brexit one. I think there's probably about 3 or 4 that she's on that I've seen her, but in each case, I felt sorry for the people that she's actually got before her. I don't know that it would be a pleasant experience.
No, I imagine not. Although, to be fair, I imagine sitting in front of any select committee of MPs probably wouldn't be the most enjoyable thing you could do.
No, I don't think so. Yeah. But getting back to Emily Thornberry, I think she would maybe have her eye on being the first leader of the Labour Party as a woman.
I definitely see her as a potential successor to Corbyn. I'm not sure whether she'd try and, you know, like you said, sort of go for the jugular. I don't know whether she'd break ranks at any point off of him, but I do think that she's one to watch for who would eventually succeed him.
Yeah, I don't know. I think if she thought she had the numbers and it came to the next election, I think they either want to ride, if Corbyn's still doing polls, they might want to ride on his coattails and grab the leadership as soon as he gets the party voted in. Or whether she would go beforehand, I don't know. But I think she would watch her chance.
See, my sort of, well, this isn't my ideal playbook, but it's what I think is the most realistic path to power for Labour, would be for another election to come along in the next few years. Labour just about squeeze in. They maybe like make up an extra 10 or 15 MPs on what they had before, and they hold the power when it comes to making a coalition or a confidence and supply or something like that. Yeah. And then they muddle through one term with a Prime Minister Corbyn and support from the smaller parties. And then at the end of that parliament, or near the end of that parliament, Corbyn steps down and they have a leadership election. Someone else succeeds him. Arguably, it will be someone a bit more to the right of Corbyn, because, I mean, there aren't that many people in the Labour Party who are...
Unless McDonnell.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, unless McDonnell goes for it, but I don't know how that one will pan out. And I kind of see I could live with someone like Emily Thornberry succeeding Corbyn. After Corbyn's had a crack of power for sort of 4 or 5 years, I'd be more comfortable with an Emily Thornberry type than I would be with, like, you know, even if she is a bit to the right of Corbyn, it's like I can accept with some degree of pragmatism that if they want to really solidify their chances of getting in again with the electorate, they'll have to move to someone not necessarily more moderate, but at least someone who appears more moderate. But the most important thing to me is that a lot of the policy platform that Corbyn brought along with him remains after he's gone. That's kind of what's pivotal to me. I don't want to see Corbyn go and then suddenly it's a return to Blairite politics again.
Yeah, that's the fear, I think, that they go back to being a Blairite party.
What do we care who's better than Emily Thornberry for this?
That's a good question. I think Emily Thornberry appears to have more experience. At least she's been serving in Corbyn's shadow cabinet for longer, and I think she's a bit more of a better known name. I think personally, I quite like Clive Lewis, but he's not like my first choice when I think who would be the ideal successor to Corbyn. I wonder whether like him and Thornberry would possibly run on a joint ticket or something. One of them to be PM, the other one to be Chancellor or something.
Yeah, because you've got to think of who's going to be acceptable to the people as PM in or, you know, who's PM material.
Yeah. So what about someone like Chris Williamson? I know I'm throwing that name out because...
Who was that?
Chris Williamson.
Oh, no.
No. Someone like him.
Probably the fact that whenever I see him on Twitter, he's always saying very left-wing things that appeal to me a lot. is probably the same reason why I think that he wouldn't cut with the public at large, because he's giving me too much of what I want in terms of the sort of stuff that Corbyn would be after. I think because I am right in saying that Chris Williamson is basically he's roughly on the same bit of the left of the party that Corbyn and MacDonald are. Is that right?
Yeah, if people can appeal to Corbyn, they can appeal to him. It gets a lot of abuse actually from the moderates. I think it was John Mulcahy was saying that he should be an RT, and we try to say he's got connection with Russia. So he gets a lot of attack like that.
Oh yeah, I mean, Chris Williamson doesn't pull his punches, does he? I've seen some of the stuff he's had to say, and he's pretty direct.
Well, that was why he got chucked out of the shadow cabinet, wasn't it? Because he didn't pull his punches.
Yeah, but was it? Did he used to be in the cabinet, and then he tried to make up some policy on the hoof, so then Corbyn had to get rid of him. Yeah,
Corbyn had to dismiss him. He didn't dismiss him, but he had to stand down.
He was like fire minister or something, wasn't he?
I'm trying to think exactly what he did. I think didn't he make an announcement that was in sort of direct opposition to what Corbyn had said?
Yeah, there was something he'd said. I think it was in an interview. It might have been to do with council tax, something about that. But basically, I think
what it was.
But he'd spoke out of turn somehow, and he basically made it appear that something was Labour Party policy that wasn't Labour Party policy, and that's why he had to go.
Yeah, whatever it was he got the sack for, somebody else did something similar about the same time and didn't have to go, because everyone was saying, well, how come Williamson got chucked to the back and he didn't? But I can't think what it was now. So that doesn't tell you much.
Although that said, I will say I was very pleased to see Corbyn sacking Owen Smith after he penned that article for The Guardian, when Owen Smith basically went, yeah, we should have a second referendum and we should, soft Brexit as possible. And Corbyn went, that's not Labour Party policy. Off you go. I was like, yes, good.
What I thought was now get rid of a few more.
Do you remember when Clive Lewis actually resigned over the single market as well?
Did he?
That was about October-ish time.
Right. I can't remember that.
Was that what Clive Lewis had resigned over? Was it the single market?
Yeah. There were amendments. I forgot who proposed it. I think it was Anna Suber. And Clive Lewis voted for it. And Colin put all the whips on, voting against it. And that's the cause of Clive Lewis resign.
See, it's things like that, which is why I'm probably more comfortable with Emily Thornberry than I would be with Clive Lewis, just if I'm taking points away from him based on Brexit.
I think Emily Thornberry's far more acceptable to the average, not the left wing, but the average Labour voter, that Corbyn just isn't. I mean, I know quite a lot of people that would not vote Labour because they don't want Corbyn.
Well, perhaps I think hasn't Emily Thornberry done a few primaries of questions that apparently did quite well.
That's right. Yeah, I've seen her stand in a couple of times, and she's no doubt she's better suited to PMQs than Corbyn is. Yeah,
and she's got the wit on the hoof. She can think up the sort of just the right word, just off the cuff, but also she's got the forcefulness which Corbyn lacks at the dispatch box. When he's out in the field and he's standing before a crowd and saying ban the bomb, he's absolutely forceful, but in Parliament he seems to lose that.
Well, you're getting a spanner because both say you deserve it. So yeah, I'll give you one.
Yeah, I've just found where it says Chris Williams quit the day after he suggested council tax bills for the highest value homes in England should be doubled.
Someone to do a council tax.
Yeah.
I don't mind that.
Well, I don't see what's wrong with that. But
I think, well,
I think
probably
it was anti-policy, wasn't it? It was more the point.
I think it wasn't just the fact that it wasn't Labour policy, but it was also basically a gift to the Tories. Because as soon as he said that, the Conservatives were then able to go, "Oh, one of Corbyn's shadow ministers saying they're going to double council tax," and straight away that's a new line of attack.
Yeah. I'm just having a quick read to see if it says anything else. Yeah, whereas, I mean, Thornbury as well, she's been sort of untouched by any smears or, apart from a couple of anti-Semitism type things, that float around, because she's on, isn't she on, she's on the, what do you call it? The Friends of Israel, isn't she?
Is Emily Thornberry Friends of Israel?
Yeah.
I think she was, but she left.
Yeah, but only about last week or the week before, wasn't it? When that letter came out.
Oh, I'm not sure if I'd heard about this, specifically relating to Emily Thornberry.
Yeah. I'll carry on talking and I'll Google it.
All right, thank you. Yeah, for me at least, I see Thornberry as being an appropriate successor to Corbyn. Like, she's not everything that I'd ideally have in a Labour Party leader, but then again, not as Jeremy Corbyn. But her main, well, saving graces for her really is she's fairly good at PMQs. She's got experience in a shadow cabinet position, and she's not on the most right wing bit of the Labour Party. So I can accept those at least.
What do you all think about Angela Rayner? Because I just checked the odds. She's the second favourite to become next Labour leader.
Is she?
Yeah.
I think Angela Rayner shows promise. I think that she's definitely got the potential, but I think she probably needs to grow in her role a little bit more.
She's a bit of a snowflake. She blocks you. I belong to a group that somebody set, not a group, but what do you call it? A list of people blocked by Angela Rayner. And I think
really?
there's about 39 of us on it at the moment. She's a bit inclined to take offence if you say the sky is blue.
I used to be. I mean, I'll admit I haven't seen like loads and loads of Angela Rayner, but I used to be fairly big on her because I was like, oh, she's on side with the Corbyn agenda. She's she seems to be playing the game. And then I think I saw an interview with her on Andrew Marr, where she was being interviewed about universities or education or whatever. And she basically she did a Labour version of the Matt Hancock interview, which is just kind of stonewall and stick to the Labour Party policy script, which, it's what politicians do. Conservative politicians do it, Labour politicians do it. But I guess I was a little bit disappointed because in my head, I was kind of like, oh, yeah, Angela Rayner. I had her sort of up a little bit more in my estimations. And then when I saw her in the interview, it was just deflection, the Tory party. And I kind of thought, oh, I was hoping for a little bit more there.
Yeah. I was that on Daily Politics?
Oh, it was either Daily Politics or Andrew Marr, but this is going back a couple of months now.
Yeah, it might have been another one I saw because I think it was a bit longer than that, but she wasn't fantastic on that. It might have even been Peston. No, I don't think so. Yeah, I think the one I saw was Daily Politics. I can't actually see where Emily Thornberry has left the LFI, but it says that MPs have distanced themselves and that Emily Thornberry is a prominent member.
Right.
Yeah, she condemned the massacre in Gaza unreservedly.
Oh, well, good. I'm pleased to hear that. Doing a good job on that as Shadow Foreign Secretary, at least.
Yeah, it says she issued the party statement condemning it unreservedly. But I think she's probably still a member.
So I've had some interesting things on Oswald Blue. But basically, people that said he can are less likely to be later leader than, let's say, Jess Phillips or Eddie Izzard, apparently.
Yeah.
So what were you saying? Sadiq Khan seen as more likely than either Jess Phillips or Eddie Izzard?
Less likely.
I thought you were saying they should be the PM and deputy.
Oh, crikey. I mean, I was trying to, because obviously Corbyn is incredibly divisive. There are people who really love him, and then there are people who really hate him. And I kind of thought, with the exception of maybe like John McDonnell or Diane Abbott, there was no one else who could take over the mantle of Labour leadership who could be equally as divisive. And then Eddie Izzard was mentioned, and I thought, oh no, you could get Eddie Izzard in as Labour leader, and that would probably turn a few people off.
Yeah. I don't know. I think one of the worst ones for me is Ben Bradshaw. He's almost my MP, except for about 500 yards. And I heard him speak at the anti-Brexit march in Exeter.
Oh.
He is. I mean, I'm sure he goes to bed every night and looks under the bed to see if there's a Russian under there. Like the whole of this anti-Brexit speech was basically how the Russians are out to get us.
Oh, that's it. Every political movement that people don't like, I'm sure we can blame the Russians for it. It definitely wasn't.
Yeah.
A populist surge of the electorate deciding something new. It's got to be Vladimir Putin. It's the only logical answer.
I know. It's weird, isn't it?
Yeah.
You know what? I'm going to put a bet Russia to win the World Cup. That's what I'm laughing. So basically, if Russia wins, right, what they will say that they use the Novichok to basically knock out the other players and the bribe the referees.
Yeah, can you imagine it if they, really imagine it if they did win?
Oh God, it'd be That'd be crazy.
It would. I think the first footballer I actually ever liked was Lev Yashin. I don't know that you'd ever remember him. He was the goalkeeper for Russia.
I'm afraid not. No.
No, I mean this is going back a long while, but he was an absolutely fantastic goalkeeper.
Yeah, if the Russians win, they'll probably be. You'll get it in like the Sun or the Star or something. They'll be going inside scoop. Russians putting Novichok on the door handles to the England dressing room or something like that.
Yeah, sending out sort of tweets or something to put them off their game.
What's going to be interesting is that football hooliganism. Remember the Euros 2 years ago? Like the battle between the Russian and English fans.
Yeah.
So basically, that's going to happen about times by 10 because you're in Russia. And that's what's going on. What's going on? I think there's going to be some trouble, like 2 years ago.
Yeah, I don't think I'd want to be a football fan, an English football fan.
Yeah, and no, Russian football fans have a reputation to be hooligans.
You never know. That might be the one thing standing in the way of the World Cup and some ISIS terrorist attack taking place, though. It could be all those Russian hooligans spotting someone with a dodgy backpack and then chasing them down the street.
Yeah. And then they're blowing up in the middle of Red Square. That'd be great. Actually, I'm just looking at Emily Thornberry's page, and she's a good age for a leader because she's 58.
Emily Thornberry's 58.
Yeah, she's born 1960.
No way! I didn't. I'm going to have to check this for myself. It's not that I don't believe you, but I'm just so surprised by it. I thought she was younger than that.
Well,
I thought she was about 10 years younger.
Yeah,
well, I'm just going on Wikipedia, but it says Emily Ann Thornbury, born 27th of July 1960. That's 58, isn't it? Yeah, 58.
57 it says, but yeah, close enough.
57, yeah.
What trees was it like? Was it 61, 60, something like that?
Yeah,
and it's comparing both.
That's crazy. Theresa May's only like 4 years older than Emily Thornbury, but it looks like there's a couple of decades between them.
Yeah, well, I suppose Emily Thornbury's plumper for a start, and plumper women tend to sort of have younger, plumper skin, don't they?
Yeah, I suppose so. I'm looking at a few pictures of her on Google here, and you're right. It's no, that's really interesting. I honestly thought Emily Thornbury was in her early mid-40s, maybe.
Yeah, no, I'd have put her at 50. Only because sometimes when she sits there, she looks it, I think. And also her manner.
Yeah. I wonder that Emily Thornbury looks a bit like Ellen Foster. Was that just me?
Yeah, sort of. Yeah, I can see why. They both got short hair.
I think Emily Thornbury looks like the after photo. If it was like a before and after thing for like some facelift or skin cream or something, Arlene Foster's the first picture and Thornbury's the second.
Yeah. And also I think Emily Thornbury usually dresses a bit more better than Arlene Foster. She always looks like how the Queensland Premier's wife used to dress, sort of, English 1950s.
Yeah.
She dresses about as conservative as her politics, basically, like Arlene Foster.
Well, she dresses like an old lady, I think. Whereas Emily Thornbury, I can imagine her wearing sort of good classic designer clothes.
Well, no.
Of course, she's lady someone or other, isn't she? Or
yeah,
because that was thingy. Sorry.
She looks like some sort of bodybuilder. We'll pick a fight with Arlene Foster.
She was what?
Pick a fight with Arlene Foster. I want to pick a fight with her. No, she's very big and stocky. Probably looks like she carry logs behind her back or something.
Yeah, I'm sorry, you're breaking up a bit on my this thing. Yeah, I think it's my Galaxy thing. Yeah. Didn't help that the cat was laying on it either.
My internet's been a little bit dodgy. I couldn't tell whether it was my end or one of you guys though, but it's been cutting out a bit here and there.
Yeah, I heard yours sort of pings every so often and then you cut out for a little while. On mine, sort of like a high pitch noise. Yeah, of course, she was a practicing barrister as well. And then she joined the Transport and General Workers Union. So, and she's actually only been in Parliament since 2000. Oh no, she was defeated then. So 2005 she's been in Parliament since.
All right. Well, Thornbury's been in Parliament since 2005.
Yeah.
Oh, so you can't pin the Iraq War on her then. She wasn't around for that. That's another point in her favour.
It is, and she wasn't a Blairite appointee, was she?
No,
unlike some of them.
One of Blair's babes, as they were known back then.
Well, yeah, like Sally Morgan.
Well, Kitty Hewin, actually one of them.
Yeah.
Kate Hoey was one of Blair's babes.
Yeah, I reckon we should pick up all Blair's, I can't even say it, Blair's babes of both sexes.
Who is basically Wi-Fi and fun.
Yeah.
Was it Minister of Sport and I don't know the full title, but the same thing that Matt Hancock has.
Oh, the put everything into one department because you can't fit it in any of the others.
Yeah, exactly, wasn't it? Shadow Minister without portfolio.
So that's something else.
Oh, is that something?
We had that in a while. We had that in a while.
Yeah, Minister without portfolio is basically so they get to sit in on the cabinet meetings, but they don't actually have any responsibilities.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, do they not have any responsibilities?
I don't know, but that's what I take without portfolio as meaning. It's just kind of
I know they're not attached to a particular department, are they?
Yeah, but they get the coffees, they take the minutes, that kind of thing, maybe.
Yeah.
They're basically there to put their opinions to things, and that's all the purpose to have. Also, some sort of weird deal to have with the politician. It really happens in modern politics, though. I don't think we have a minister portfolio at the moment.
Yeah. No, I don't even know who the minister without portfolio is this year.
I don't think we have one.
No, I've never heard him mentioned if he is. I suppose he couldn't get called to stand up and talk about his non-existent portfolio, would he?
Yeah, doesn't get invited onto Mar too often. So, what are you up to? Well, I don't have a portfolio, not very much.
Yeah. I just get paid twice as much as the normal MP. I wondered if they do. If you're minister without portfolio, do you get extra money?
Now, there's a good question.
It is, isn't it? I just thought about it. Because normal minister gets more than your standard run-of-the-mill MP. So is it actually a lurk for the boys? You'd be good and I'll call you without portfolio and you can have an extra couple of thousand a month.
I mean, that's what the House of Lords is for, basically.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's how Sally Morgan got there, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Now, I tell you what, if you ever want a subject for discuss why Sally Morgan wasn't called before the special committee on Carillion collapse when she was the non-executive director of Carillion, and the other directors and non-executives were called to give evidence. And the fact that when she joined, she was on committee with either Marshall or Waste from Marshall Waste, and they made millions out of the fall of Carillion.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, and I posted it here, there, and everywhere, and tried, like Jeremy Corbyn, one thing, another, and tried to get someone to say why wasn't she being asked, and it was just totally ignored, and others posted as well. And it's the second time she was on another committee with Marshall Waste, and same thing happened. I'm not sure if it wasn't Dixon's. It was one of the other companies that collapsed. She joined 6 months beforehand.
A bit of a kiss of death, then, really.
Yes, at the best, I would say. And she was in the inner circle with Alastair Campbell Blair and what's his name beginning with M? Oh, well, Adonis. In the war thing, she was privy to the Iraq war when they decided to withhold the information about the weapons of mass destruction. And now she's a dame in the House of Lords.
Wow, she was there for a lot of it then.
Yeah, I think she's worth an in-depth investigation.
Yeah, I'll have to have a closer look at this then, because I hadn't known too much about this beforehand.
No, she's kept very much under the radar.
I imagine she probably would.
But interesting.
I've been looking on Wikipedia here for different ministers without portfolio.
Oh yeah.
And apparently that in the olden days, the minister without portfolio would basically, well, the gist is basically it is in order to get someone into cabinet without them actually having a job. But apparently the tradition was first set up. That's why they created the role of party chairmans, or at least that was a use of the role of party chairman of either the Conservative or Labour Party. That if you made them the chairman, then they'd be able to sit in on cabinet, and that was often factored into the decisions. Because it says here, according to this, at least the current minister without portfolio is Brandon Lewis, who is the chairman of the Conservative Party.
Right.
And previous, I just got reminded that Grant Chaps exists. Yeah.
Actually, I'm just having a look. I've got a list of ministerial salaries here.
Oh, have you?
Yeah. I haven't come across put out without.
Yeah, I haven't been able to find anything about salaries on the page for minister without portfolio either.
I looked it up, and apparently they do get paid.
Oh, they do?
Yeah.
Well, this is in the House of Commons information fact sheet, ministerial salaries, but it's 2010. Now, whether that's the latest one. 2,923, total including parliamentary salary 198,661, and that was in 2010. Minister of State, blah blah blah. Leader of the opposition gets 139,000. And the Speaker gets even more, 145. And this was, 9 years ago, so they get pay rises with the CPI, don't they?
Yeah, it's probably gone up a few percent since then.
Yeah. Government chief whip, but yeah, nothing on there about, there, what's this from a cabinet minister, Minister of State. Cabinet ministers get 106. Oh no, that's ministers in the House of Lords. If you're a minister in the House of Lords, you get 106,000. If you're a minister in the cabinet in the House of Commons, you get 141,000.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah. And so all their salaries are lower in the House of Lords, and they've since then altered it.
I mean, I imagine you'd probably hope that the salaries would be lower in the House of Lords, considering they're the ones appointed rather than elected.
And that they do very little.
So on these House of Lords ministers, because they're the ones get paid, they don't get paid in the House of Lords. They just get expenses.
What, the House of Lords?
Yeah, the peers.
But of course, the ministers get paid in the House of Lords.
That's what I suspected. Yeah.
Yeah, so yeah, they earn on average sort of about 50,000 less than, 40,000 less than in the House of Commons. And there's only, looks like 3, the Cabinet Minister, Minister of State and Parliamentary Under Secretary of State get salaries.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Well, I'm going to probably end this in about 1:30.
I was actually about to say I was going to be shooting off in a minute because I've seen it's like got fairly late.
Yeah, just slightly. No, it's interesting. Thanks, Cameron.
Yes, all right.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. Well, I mean, I did kind of drop in of my own accord anyway, but thanks for having me.
No, it's all right. It's good having you on.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah, it was.
Thank you. Bye.
See you later.
Bye.
Are you still live or are you about to go off?
Yeah, still live. I'm about to go off now.
Oh, that's fine. All right.